Okay, so I woke up this morning, and yes, I am in the same clothes that I was in last night, but sometimes I just, crash out on the couch, and then, I try not to judge myself for that, and I give myself grace because, life is hard, and it is what it is. I'm just grateful to be alive and grateful to be here. And as I was scrolling through YouTube and I was listening to these other targeted individuals and what they have to say about the program and everything, and it's so from the mind of someone who I love. Research is like, I've always wanted to do research. When I worked in healthcare before, I was really excited at the prospect of being able, and down the line, not immediately when I first started, as a child life specialist, and I don't do that anymore. And, I kind of look at it in the sense of, what's meant to be will find you kind of thing. And, I believe that we are divinely, I just have my notes here because I was writing stuff down. I felt intuitively guided to write certain things down that are important. And everything true. I know there's that cliche saying everything happens for a reason, but it's true though. Everything really truly does happen for a reason. So when you get the word that I'm thinking of that just came to mind, uprooted, and you get plopped in the exact, because I'll be honest, I woke up this morning and I go, thank you God, I'm awake, I'm alive, number one. Yesterday was a very rough day because, and I don't want to get too much into it, and I made a mini vlog and I was gonna post it, and then I said, you know what, there's some things that need to be kept private. And just because I could be triggered, and this is where self-awareness comes in, just because I get triggered, right, because somebody does something not in concert or in alignment with what I would wish them to do, like let's say family, friends, loved ones, a neighbor, a pedestrian, maybe Bonnie, parents, what have you, it's very easy to meander or deviate from your soul's purpose or your true divine nature. And I will say my true divine nature at its core, my baseline temperament and my overall disposition is usually very congenial, very kind, very loving and empathetic and soft. I pride myself on, there's that term soft girl era, soft girl, this, whatever. And I do pride myself on that because you see a lot of women, and yes, some women are very no nonsense, the baddies, and what have you. And you could tell they command attention and they wear that confidence very well. I'm not so much like that. I'm very much, sometimes I like to be in the background. I don't like to be very overt and be like, I'm in your face and, I don't, that's not my thing. Some people, that's their thing, and that's okay. We all have different levels and dimensions of our personality. And, but for me, I woke up this morning and I took a bird's eye view of my situation specifically, right? Number one, there's a few things that I realized. I came to the realization. Number one, I'm not where I want to be in my life, and I don't mind being candid about that. And yes, do I feel like I was done an injustice? Yes. And that is where I think the crux of the issue lies, where I feel like either I was scammed, lied to, framed, smear campaigned, whatever you want to call it. That's what I feel like happened to me. Coercive control, gaslighting, manipulation. And these are all really horrible things. Psychological abuse is such a nightmare because it's the mind, right? It's slowly whittling down someone so that they feel defeated, they feel hopeless, they feel helpless. There's learned helplessness, right? And so it comes to the point where you feel like you want to give up, right? And there's no, when it comes to the mind, against, you know, physical health, right? When you're physically ill, you do a blood test, you do a reflex test, there's so many different things that you can do, right, in healthcare. And then we get the test and we go, okay, this over here is bad, we need to even this out, and blah blah blah. When it's the mind, there's a, what's that movie, Frozen, when there's the little troll, and he says, there's a part when he says, but the mind can't be easily something, you know, in relation to when Anna gets struck in by Elsa, the sister. I know I'm referencing a Disney movie, but just hear me out, you know. And, you know, something happens when they're kids, and then Anna gets hurt, and the parents are like, we can't have Elsa around her, whatever. And because they thought Elsa was dangerous because of her powers and, you know, with the ice powers and whatnot. And so the little troll, who's like a healer troll in Norse, you know, like Norse mythology and Scandinavian mythology, you know, they have those little trolls. If you don't know what I'm talking about, in like Norwegian culture, whatnot. And so anyways, the healer troll comes and like he says something like, I need to find it because I feel like this line is relevant right now. What's it called? Frozen Pappy Troll line where he tries to heal Anna. He says something like the mind, hold on. It's in the movie. I promise there's a reason why. It says, in Frozen, Grandpappy heals young Anna after an ice magic accident by removing her memories of Elsa's powers, stating he'll keep the fun memories. But that's not it. He warns Elsa that her growing dangerous powers must be controlled and that fear is her enemy. I'll find it and then maybe I'll reference it, but it's this line where he says something about basically, and he's intimating or insinuating that, you know, with physical health, you know, when it's mental health, it's something that's not as easily able to be remedied. That's the point I'm trying to convey. It's not as easily remedied when it's the mind, but when it's physical health, that's a little bit easier to deal with. So, for me specifically, and maybe this might help other people who are targeted, because when you talk about something over and over and over and over again, right, it becomes your predominant reality. If you know anything about reality creation 101, I don't know if his name is Norman Van Peel, that's what's coming to mind. I think even like Alan Watts, who I learned about recently. There's also, I think, the book A Course in Miracles as well. And you know, the mind is so powerful, and that's what I think makes targeting such a, it's horrible, it's demonic, it's monstrous, it's evil, and that's what this video is going to be about, is how to cope through that evil, right? And this doesn't have to be applicable to just targeting, because evil exists in all forms. And if you're someone like me, who you are very sensitive to energy, right, you will feel it on a massive scale. Like when there's a natural disaster or a terrorist attack anywhere, I am like shaken to the core. When there was that airplane crash at Ronald Reagan in Washington last year, 2025? Yeah. That was like, I was so, just because I felt really hurt. I go, how did that happen? You know, it just felt carelessness. I think a helicopter struck the plane, like they didn't see, they just crashed into each other. So yeah, and the hardest thing I will say about this whole targeting thing and whatnot is, after, you know, because I woke up in the morning, I took a step back and I was like, I'm alive, I'm here. after having a really not so great night that I had with family, and I wanted to vent about it, and I did. And I was going to post a video and be like, it just airing all the dirty laundry of like what, and maybe my laundry literally is not good. There's another thing with that. I'm scared that my laundry detergent may be tampered with, because, you know, in Gangstalking they find subtle ways to, you know, get you sick, and it's horrible. It's really, really horrible. I'm not going to downplay it. But I came to this realization recently, and I'm like, why, how did I end up here? You know, there is a spiritual component. I think it's very much, I never realized how much spirituality plays a part. And what is spirituality, right? When you think about it, for people that are not familiar with that world, that are more inclined to religiosity. So when you're religious, you attend, you know, religious ceremonies or services, right? There's usually an authority figure, like a priest that's pious or holy, and you look at them as a person of authority, right? That has word because they're ordained or whatnot, and you take the Eucharist or break the bread, whatever it is that is for you, right? And that brings us comfort to an extent, right? But spirituality is like the relationship that you have with yourself and the unseen world, the inner world, right? Like, so in Freudian theory, you have the id, ego, and superego. You have like your consciousness, your subconscious, and your conscience, or your conscious, right? Conscience, subconscious. And if you think about it, we're constantly, our own thoughts, right? Our thought life. We're being bombarded with both negative and positive thought. We're constantly receiving input through stimuli, right? Like when you go out in the world and you see grass, you see the sky is blue, you see this person coming towards you, that is stimuli, that is input. And our mind is constantly, from a neuropsychology or neurobiological perspective, we're constantly assessing this world. Gangstalking, the phenomenon of gangstalking, turns that concept on its head. What do I mean? Your reality basically becomes almost controlled by this coordinated strategic effort of specific individuals that I do believe are either contracted or hired to do so. But you ask yourself, why? Why would a bunch of people who I don't know gather together to try to psychologically thwart or undermine another individual? This is where the spiritual component comes in. Sometimes I think one person I was just listening to, she seems very well versed in it. She said that she herself was in the military. And she's a targeted individual. And I do believe her. I do. She's given me insight into things that I didn't even consider. What her belief system is that, or she ascertains, is that from birth we have a birth chart. We have our natal chart, and that we are marked, like, there's certain institutions or entities that know, like I'm talking the ones that we don't even know about, like not even government, like these are I don't want to go and say that, you know, the name, the word, but there's I think, and this is where, for me personally, life just got thrown on its head. Like because a lot of people, and I don't want to deviate too off track, a lot of people will automatically, right, when gangstalking starts, right, the weird street theater with the police officers, with the helicopters, the big black SUVs, which that's not the norm, right, every day. And then if you say to yourself, oh, but you're affixing your consciousness to that, so because of that you're giving more relevance to it, and therefore it's becoming your predominant reality because you're affixing your cognition to this phenomena. You could say that, but I don't think that's the case, because people are we're finally attuned to things, but like if we feel off, our gut, I do believe we have an emotional GPS system. Like I do believe we have like an inner compass within us that tells us where to go, what to do. And gangstalking is an excellent exercise in training that EQ muscle. Why? It's an excellent exercise in the battle of the mind with one's own self, and then trying to not necessarily block out, because if you think about it, right, when you picture like a rock in a stream, what does the water do, right? When you have an obstacle in your life, right? Let's say it's let's say it's a creek, a river, and you have an obstacle, and you have like a big giant rock. What does water do? Water goes around it, or maybe even over it if the rock gets smaller over time. And then because of the weather elements, some rocks get whittled down, and erosion happens, or corrosion, if there's like some element that corrodes the rock, whatever. But my point is, like, water goes around, and one thing I've learned, and this is, when I say this, this comes from being brutally, I'm telling you, I have been exposed to, and it's so hard to prove. It's plausible deniability. And this is what I heard another targeted individual mention on his channel. And he said it's plausible deniability, which is that, and let me, because I don't like to just espouse on things and not, plausible deniability is a social and political tactic where leaders or individuals distance themselves from, that's not, it's basically this idea, the ability to deny involvement in actions that are questionable or unethical. The ability of individuals or organizations to deny knowledge of responsibility for any damnable actions committed by others because of the lack of evidence that can confirm their involvement. So essentially, that's why gangstalking is so hard to prove, because the tactics that are used are not very overt. Like, if a TI is like, look at my phone, like, look, I'm going to show you when this guy went and he was around me, and then he circled me, and look at his shirt. Like, if you look at it, we all sound crazy. I'm just going to be honest. Like, we all sound cuckoo. Oh, he's wearing a shirt, and that guy was whatever. I thought about it when I was in Chicago, going to a grocery store. There was a guy that was in front of me. He was just walking, minding his business, and I was minding my business. I'm not a gang stalker. I'm not a perp. And I was within a very close distance of him. And let's say he's a targeted person. He could have said, oh, this girl's following me, she's a perp, and I have nothing to do with the guy. Same thing happened with another girl. I was very close to her. And I go, we don't know. We give more credence to things, and our mind can play tricks on us when we think, because when you become so betrayed and backstabbed or, brutally traumatized, you walk on eggshells, right? You get so scared because you're like, oh, this and this is going to happen. And you think that everyone is out to get you, when that's not the case. Just want to lay that groundwork. But after waking up this morning, I had a few realizations. I think there's a few things here, and I'm going to get back to like how to cope through evil, how to cope with it, and how to work through it, because you can't ignore it. You can't ignore it. It's always going to be there. And again, this is coming from someone who I have been, and we all have gone through a lot. I'm not trying to say my situation is harder than other people, but I have really been put to the test. Every day I tell myself, God, why? Because I feel sometimes like a puppet. I feel like my life is not my own. I feel like I'm being socially groomed, if that makes sense, or socially behaviorally modified to accept certain roles, certain positions, job placements, partners, even to the point of like from a biological, genetic modification engineering standpoint, right? Like if I partner up with a specific person from a specific race, I think these people, whoever's facilitating it, will literally take a target individual's life, and they will mold that person to be what they want them to be. So have them do this job, have them date this partner. And I kind of have thrown that for a loop because I'm like, but I want to do what I want. I have a calling on my heart, and I know what that is. And what gets targeted essentially is your peace of mind, your life path, your destiny. Now, I know what I'm saying sounds really woo-woo. And when I say woo-woo, it's for the people that don't necessarily engage in this type. And this is why I mentioned religiosity or religiousness and spirituality. Because when you're targeted and stalked, right? What does that mean? How do we conceptualize stalking, right? The phenomena of stalking. There's certain statutes. I remember in Florida, there's a statute, and I know this because I remember in the show Jane the Virgin, there was Mike, what was his name's Michael, right? So Brett Dyer plays the character of Michael, and Michael is a cop, and they meet because it's such a cute, and I don't know, it's not on TV anymore. I think it was on the CW. When I first saw that show, I was like, I love this show. And Gina Rodriguez did such a good job. Justin Baldoni did a good job. Brett Dyer, everyone. And it brought me so much joy when I watched it. But anyways, the character of Michael, so he's a cop, and then they meet because she's having a 21st birthday party, and they're being kind of, loud or whatever, and there's a neighbor complaint. So then he meets her to see what's going on at the party. And then I forgot how, and he's one of the characters that I think the show did a really great job at demonstrating. If you want a good ideal for like a boyfriendy, role model-y type of relationship dynamic, a healthy one, look at the characters of Jane Villanueva and Michael, oh my god, what was his last name? I don't know the last name. And yeah, but anyways, I forgot why I mentioned that. There's a reason why I mentioned that, and I can't remember. But going back to, was it about the religion and spirituality and all that? There's a point I had to that with Jane the Virgin, and I'm sorry, I lost track of why, because I was thinking about the show. But a life path, life purpose, destiny, things like that. There is a spiritual component to gangstalking, and behavioral modification, I think, is involved. Grooming is involved. Almost, I think, and maybe it's in different degrees for different people, but it's almost like a test of, like, people want to test you to see what you're made out of. And hear me out when I say this. I know this sounds very convoluted, right? Why would someone try to break you down and whittle you down and ruin your life and sabotage you? You don't, that's not criminal? Oh yeah, it's super criminal. Super criminal. Like, I mean, when I look back at my life and I go, everything that's happened in the past 6 years, it seems really premeditated. Emotional neglect, gaslighting, verbal abuse, emotional abuse. And those wounds are not as easily tended to, especially if you have individuals that are within the system already. Because what happens is there's psychologists, social workers, therapists who all, are, I can't say that because I don't know if they're paid off extra or if they're threatened or, because some people have skeletons in their closet. Some people get blackmailed, right? And then they can't do anything about it. And so these people, whoever they are, you can say maybe, because a lot of people, there's a lot of, I think, hands in the pot. There's a lot of key players involved. And in the first line of the go-to, the first people that are blamed, that people say are responsible for the program, is the government. That's what they say. Oh, it's the government. It's the government, it's the government, it's the government, it's the FBI, it's the CIA, it's this. Could it be? Possibly. I mean, to have all the tools and resources, but what I think, and this is just me, intuitive download, putting pieces together, not all cops are horrible. Some are, and I think some, not all, same thing for the military, because if you look at it, there are targeted individuals who were once in the military, right? They were once veterans. There's a guy who was interviewed on Vice, the channel's called Vice, and it said the world of TIs, like why, and we're painted out as being schizophrenic, we're painted out as being delusional. I don't have delusions, I don't have auditory, visual hallucinations, I don't hear voices in my head. But the thing is that when you psychologically degrade someone or whittle them down, the trauma and the turmoil and the restlessness that is, what's the word I'm looking for? Instigated or awakened within the person, that will cause mental illness. And I wrote this down before. It's a fear-based, trauma-induced, I don't know, program, project, I don't know what you want to call it, but essentially trauma and fear are used to basically psychologically isolate and degrade the individual so that they no longer feel like a viable member of society. How do you do that to someone, right? Well, there's different ways. You can, or they can, start a smear campaign. They can start, in a smear campaign, what is that? That's usually, and again, let me, because I don't like to give wrong information, but there's smear campaign, there is defamation, slander, but for all intents and purposes, because I'm not an authority figure on things, it says a smear campaign is an intentional, premeditated effort to damage an individual's or group's reputation, credibility, and character using rumors, gossip, and disinformation. Rather than addressing facts, these campaigns rely on personal attacks, manipulation, and gaslighting to isolate the victim. Often used by narcissistic or vindictive individuals after a breakup to punish an ex, gain sympathy, and control the narrative. Or in the workplace, employed to sabotage a colleague's professional standing, deflect blame, or eliminate a perceived threat to dominance or promotion. Within politics or public relations, deployed to discredit opponents, divert attention from real issues, and sway public opinion. There's certain common tactics used, such as triangulation, which is manipulating mutual friends and co-workers into sharing the false narrative, and then they basically disseminate that information and spread it out through the community without fact-checking. And turning against the victim. Projection, which is accusing the victim of doing exactly what the instigator is guilty of. Gossip and half-truths, which are mixing actual facts with fabricated stories to make the lies plausible. And impression management. The instigator attempts to control or appear completely innocent, reasonable, and the victim to win over the majority. Meaning, or the person also too, and I took impression management as they will try to mold the image of the person. Like for me specifically, I don't know what was said about me. I'm assuming it might have been really horrible stuff, but the thing is, it's not rooted in fact. So you need facts, right? You need evidence to back things. And that's what also makes targeting really hard to prove, because a lot of the stuff is not done in a manner that's believable. Oh, the bus went by me and the bus says Broadway and Devon on the bus. And therefore they're trying to get me to work on Broadway. The guy with the bag, the Chipotle bag, walking, he wants me to buy Chipotle. So, and maybe, yeah, that could be the case, or it could just be a guy walking with a Chipotle bag. The other day I went to a restaurant, Italy, and I wanted, to buy a meal there, a pre-made meal there. And if you tell yourself, is that safe? At this point, anyone could do anything. So, and the guy on the bag, it said, on the paper bag, it says, book a trip to Italy. And one could literally, if one really, when you think about how to control someone's mind, right? I don't know the ins and outs of it, but you put certain individuals or certain things around an individual so that way their mind is affixed and they see. Because some people want to control some people's reality, so they see what they want the person to see, if that makes sense. Why would someone do that? I don't know, control, narcissism, fear of what that person could become, or it just could be an exercise in social and human behavior. Why people would go so far to spend billions of dollars to facilitate something like that, I don't know. And that's not really my thing. I'm not a detective. I'm not going to sit there and spend my waking hours at 3:02 p.m. Central Standard Time to do that. But I will say this, is that targeting is horrible. Gangstalking is horrible. there's no way around. It's a crime. And it's a very difficult crime to prove because I think there's a lot of key players involved. I think, and please, when people, this is something, again, intuitively the download that I've gotten. I think Hollywood, the world of Hollywood is its own entity, right? It's its own bubble. They live in a, no offense to Hollywood people, they live in a bubble. That world is so not like the world that everyday people live in. Why? These people have chauffeurs, they have stylists, they have assistants, they have PR reps. They go to galas, they get sponsors, or once I guess you've reached that level of status, of elite status. And these are just people, they're actors. When actors, and I'm not trying to downplay acting or downplay athleticism, but when you think about it, when an athlete gets this certain level of prominence and notoriety, they start getting like Olympians, they get sponsorships, right? You see them in ads for like Uber Eats or DoorDash or Subway. Like look at Shaquille O'Neal, how many times has he been in an ad for food or something, or like a Progressive Insurance, or football players or WNBA players or NBA, and then we associate our favorite athletes with a certain brand, right? Marketing, what have you. But I think there's a lot of key players that are involved in this phenomenon, and it really, I do think, is stemmed when you, because again, I have like a researcher's brain. When I don't know something, I will like literally dig. And that's not a good thing. I'm not an investigative journalist. I'm not a reporter. My mind tinkers in that way, and I go, because this can't be, it can't be right, How come I'm experiencing all these horrible things, and then to try to bring it as proof, you bring it to a police officer, and then they're like, You tell a family member, no, I don't think that's happening to you. You don't have enough proof. Intuition doesn't hold up in a court of law. But everything in your heart tells you, I know that something is off. But these people, or these groups of people will, and I think there's an overarching, I think it stems from, like there's a higher, because in my head I see it not like a pyramid, but I see there's a specific, because here's my thing, if this whole thing is happening worldwide, right? Because I told myself, what do I do from here? Where do I go? Would some places be better? Maybe. To cope with this stuff? Sure, maybe. It depends on the government of that country, because every government has its own laws. I know that people, there's that in the conspiracy theory world, there's, the NWO, the New World Order, right? And you tell yourself, is that true? Is there a group of people that are secretly behind the scenes pulling the strings of things? Maybe. I don't know. And when you think about it, is it, there's a group of people that they say comes together like once a year or something, and they're like in Switzerland or Geneva or something, and they, I don't know if it's a convention, and they get together and they talk about things. That's what I'm saying. You can't sit there and always say it's the government, because at the end of the day, who holds the most capital? That's not the government. I hate to tell people. That's not the U.S. government or any other government. Who has the most people, folks? Like the most people. Who has the most money? Corporations do. Big tech companies do. Again, I'm not a detective. I'm not an investigator. But I go, in my heart of hearts, and hear me out when you say, I'm not pleading a case for the government. Please hear me out when I say this. I'm not. Some part of it fucked up, and some part of it, people in Miami, I had cops around me, and that's a part of, not judicial, there's judicial, executive, and legislative, right? There's different branches of that, and someone fucked up. When target individuals, there's no excuse for why people get picked on by adults who strategically put themselves in the pathway of a person, wearing certain clothing with certain slogans, holding certain bags, holding certain foods. That's intentional. Intentional placement of I'm just trying to get people to, I'm not saying they're not guilty. I'm saying look at the facts. If gangstalking is a worldwide phenomenon, you're talking about needing every single media outlet, every single police precinct from Italy to New Zealand to whatever. And if you look, if you talk, I can't say that I'm a connoisseur of U.S. government and, or foreign relations or international affairs, but what I can say is that what I've observed as a whole, right, in a macro view, not a micro viewpoint, but a macro overview, is that especially U.S. government, we have laws, right? We have our Constitution, we have, the Bill of Rights, we have the amendments, and these are things that, and this is when it comes into play when you talk about targeting and gangstalking and evil and manipulation and psychological tactics and not being able to prove it. Yeah, it's hard to prove because it's invisible. It's genius, actually. Break someone down socially so that they don't feel like a part of society, target their food, mess with their water, talk to their landlords, and place certain neighbors by them, or their job. A lot of targeted individuals, they can't work a normal job. How many jobs have I had because I've had short stints at them, because at every job I've been, I don't want to say triangulated, but it says manipulating mutual friends or coworkers, or quote unquote flying monkeys into sharing the false narrative or turning against the victim without checking the facts. Using certain trigger words. Like, I do believe in, and I had family members where they go, that's not possible. You're telling me that they all gathered together and they're getting trained on your trigger words. And I go, yeah. Because anything, a smell, a word, a song, a phrase, a look of a certain distinct person could set off someone in the trauma within someone. That's why it's called triggering, right? And that is done in an effort to have someone thrown off their path so they feel inferior. The antidote to this is to, because the moment I've noticed for me, the moment that I take strides, right, forward, and the moment that I build up my confidence and I go, okay, I'm going to wake up today and I'm going to apply to 5 jobs. I'm going to wake up today, because the thing is, in fear-based trauma induction, what it is that people want you to hyper-focus on that which you can't control, right? Oh, they're so mean to me. I hate these people. They're so cruel and so vile, and I want to get back at it, and I want to fight against it. And the moment you relinquish that and you focus and you turn pain into power and productivity, yes, they will try to undermine you. Even while you're trying to be productive, they will try to undermine you. Like, I'm being dead ass serious. Excuse my language. I apologize for any future employers that do watch a video. If you happen to come across my video or content, is that, and that's an unfair advantage to the people, I will say, who are facilitating it, because you can try your hardest. You can put all the effort forth and say, I'm going to apply. I applied to over 1,000 jobs last year at one point, 1,100, 1,200 jobs. I mean, LinkedIn, Indeed, Glassdoor. I tried everything, and I was just coming up short, and I said, but I don't want to give up, God. I was like, I can't give up. And giving up for different people, it looks like giving into addiction, giving into defeat, like people take themselves out, they commit suicide. And that's very real. Like, there are people who, they can't take it because it's horrible. Think about if every day of your life you wake up and there's people monitoring your email inbox, monitoring your text messages, being able to remotely access your phone without your consent or authorization, starting lies about you that aren't true, that are not based on fact, just opinion, general public opinion. Could be family members, could be a neighbor, could be a landlord. People getting jealous over divine spiritual protection, claircognizance, psychic abilities, which I believe personally that we all have. Disseminating false information, which is again defamation, slander. Testing you and your logic, your reasoning, your resolve, your tenacity, and your resilience. putting you through like almost like a psychological maze, or a psychological, like a, what's the word I'm looking, not boot camp, not a marathon, like Olympics, essentially. Like, you know, the movie The Hunger Games, right? Katniss Everdeen, Peter, like, and the Truman Show movie. Basically, in the Truman Show, if you haven't seen it, it's very interesting commentary. I think Jim Carrey did a great job in that. I learned about that movie 3 years ago when I was in Virginia, because it kept popping up on my YouTube feed. I'm like, what is this movie? I'm like, why is, you know, and it was such an interesting commentary on reality TV, right? Because reality TV, we think that it's organic and real and raw. It's not. Those things are scripted. Some shows are real in the moment. Other ones are not. And anyways, so he finds out that since birth, his life was like scripted or whatever, and that everyone was like really like from the, even the cops, like down, it's a really interesting movie. But I think people have referenced that in Gangstalking sometimes, because it feels artificial sometimes. Like, I'll walk out the door and I go, it just feels artificial. Like, I go, if something is off, like I feel like a pariah. Like the movie Divergent, I mentioned this before on my other videos, where I will feel separate from, and that's not dissociation. I'm in reality, like I walk out, but sometimes things feel so like so perfectly timed that I'm like, they have to be, they either have cameras in my home, or they know when I come and go. Well, no, I have cameras in my home now, but like, you know, they know when I come and go, and it's just, and I'm like, I remind myself, I go, Ashley, don't focus on that. Focus on what you can control. Focus on your goodness and your grace and your kindness, and then go from there. I'm sorry, I need to sit up straight, because see, if you look how dark this shoulder is compared to this one, it's like black and blue. You know, it hurts a lot. I keep wondering if I have a clot. I keep thinking it's thoracic outlet syndrome, TOS, which I've explained before, but it's like so dark compared to this one. If you look at it, right, it's like blue, and this one, it is what it is. I don't have insurance right now, so I just deal with it. And I hope for the best, which sounds bad to kind of, but I think I probably need some sort of interventional radiology or something, or physical therapy. It does feel better when I stretch it and I put it in back. It's not a rotator cuff injury. It's I think thoracic outlet syndrome. Anyways, I thought about it, and I go, again, a lot of realizations this morning. And because all of us are saying the same thing, and we can't prove it, right? But I wanted to kind of, I'm not playing devil's advocate. I wanted to throw it back, and, you know, the first thing we blame is government, right? Because that's what we see, is we see the helicopters, we see the thing. I mean, I remember when I was in Philly, and I'm like, why is there a giant, you know, so I had a major crush on Josh Hartnett growing up, because I thought he was like, because he was in the war movies or whatever, like Black Hawk Down, and I was like, oh my God, he's so cute. And but when I was in Philly, there was what I later learned is called a Black Osprey, and I go, why is this elevator? Why is this helicopter? Maybe an elevator is relevant. Freudian slip. So be careful going in an elevator. Just wanted to mention that for someone out there. If you live in a big building, like me, if you live in a tall, you know, taller, not a skyrise, but just be mindful, because someone could be trying to do something with an elevator. Just wanted to throw that out there, because that was a Freudian slip. So, and that's another evil thing, right? Because I have been in elevators where, especially in Virginia, I smelled sulfur, and I almost had like a respiratory, upper respiratory attack with like asphyxiation, and then ammonia. There's a lot of different things. Gases are very dangerous, and they're invisible. So, be mindful of that if you are someone that, you know, frequents elevators or uses elevators a lot. So what I wanted to mention, there was, because there was someone calling me on the phone, and I was like, nope. So I wanted to mention, I'm trying to ride the thought wave and recall what I was going to say. There's a purpose. Oh, government thing. So that's the first thing that people go to, right? And I've seen very strange things happen relative to, like I've had cops, when I was in Philadelphia, I got the most nastiest look of loathing from a cop when I was just walking my dog absentmindedly and turning the corner, and this guy gave me like the meanest look. Like, like Regina George in Mean Girls, but this was the male version. And he was like stank face, but like 10 times worse. So I was like, what did I do? I'm like, God, what did I do? I'm like, what did I do to deserve this? Why do I feel like there's adults being bullies, Like, why? I don't know what I did. So in that respect, you have to, be mindful of that. And it's not always as it seems. Am I saying that it's not? Because that's the first thing but it's the government and it's the FBI. I applied to be an FBI agent at one point. And you say, why did you do that? If those are the people that you think did it, I can't prove that. Maybe. I mean, not everyone's perfect. Not everyone's nice. I'm sure in the government, there's probably scoundrels, the show Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, it's a Broadway show that's coming to mind right now. And I think that's Norbert Leo Butz was in it with John Lithgow. I'm gonna Google that right now. I don't know why that's relevant, but let's look it up. I forgot. I think they were con artists. Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Maybe people are not Dirty Rotten Scandals. Scoundrels. I put Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Let's see what the premise is. Because I usually tell myself if I bring something up, for myself, then that's usually important or bears relevance to a certain situation. So let's plot. I think, okay, so this con artist Lawrence Jameson, played by Michael Caine, is a longtime resident of a luxurious coastal resort where he enjoys the fruits of his deceptions. That is until a competitor, Freddie Benson, Steve Martin, shows up. When the new guy's low-brow tactics impinge on his own work, Jameson resolves to get rid of him. Confident of his own duplicitous talents, Jameson challenges Benson to a winner-takes-all competition. Whoever swindles their latest mark first can stay. So it's something about... Interesting. Ruthlessness is also playing a part as well. People are being very ruthless. Con artists. So maybe there's an element with, if you're going through targeting like me, maybe there's an element of someone being a con artist, or lying, or false identities, fake identities. I'm gonna write that down. There's a group of con artists involved. Again, I'm not a detective, but I do feel like there's an element of crime going on with my situation specifically. So, take that what you will with it. Con artists, people posing as people that they're not. Like, I have had that happen in dating where I think one guy was like, oh, I'm in the military, and I kid you not, I think he bought a military jacket at a thrift store, but he wasn't military. I think he was a perp and he was a gang stalker. So just be careful and mindful of that if you're going through that, because and this is, now I'm going to get into the point, I think, of maybe talking the evil. Like, how do you cope with evil? How have I managed to survive this? And this is coming from someone, and I'm being, again, I can't directly prove it. If someone came to me today and was like, okay, so you're asserting or, ascertaining that you're being drugged and poisoned. Okay, show me the proof. Show me the proof. You're saying all this stuff, but where's your proof? And then the hard part about it is that if I went to the doctor and I get blood work done, because that has happened before in certain states. In some states they were more honest, in other states they weren't. I don't know why that is. That I do not understand, and I don't know if that trickles down to government, ethics, morality, righteousness, lawfulness, law and order. I don't know. I realize, and that's why, Abraham Lincoln, he was considered Honest Abe, because he did not, Honest Abe meaning. I looked this up recently. So, Honest Abe is a famous nickname given to U.S. President Abraham Lincoln, symbolizing integrity, trustworthiness, and ethical behavior. It is often used to describe someone who is exceptionally forthright, principled, and fair. So it says, early life anecdotes. Legends highlight Lincoln's strict moral compass. Stories circulated that while working as a store clerk, he once walked miles to return a few cents. Oh my God, I actually did return a few cents. He had accidentally overcharged a customer. It's really funny. When I worked as a server, I actually would like run after people. Well, and later I've done it where like they didn't tip, I've gone after them, but like if they've over tipped, I would actually reach out and go, I'd like walk. I'd be like, excuse me, like you over tipped, or like you dropped this or whatever. Like I'm very forthright. I'm like that. Anyways, so it's a compliment to someone's morality. For example, you can trust Alex to handle the company budget. He's a real Honest Abe. So it's like kind of like an idiom. I don't know if it's I don't know if the term is interchangeable in idiom or euphemism, but that's something maybe important, related to that. But yeah, so when I've said, oh, I'm being drugged, I'm being poisoned, I've been trying to prove that, because it's very hard to prove. And why would anyone believe that? Why would they say, oh, but you, why are we going to go so hardcore to target you? A bunch of people that I don't know. Cops, doctors, lawyers, why would they all gather together to go, I want to sabotage this young woman because it could be, I thought about it, maybe my walk with God. Some people get targeted for money, some people get left in, wills or inheritances. That's another thing. But I will say when I did, here, I have this Kipper deck. I call it like the investigative deck. And when I pulled, because, cards, basically, they read energy. If you don't know how that works, it's not tarot. For example, this card says change, and it has a picture of a car, something, and usually I think this one is like packed with all this stuff. See, it has like it's like a little buggy, and this guy he's like bringing luggage out to pack the car, and it usually means sometimes like a change in location. This is a building, and someone leaving, and that was on the back of the deck when I just pulled it out. But and you could say, oh, but those are just cards. Say what you will. I've done it for myself, and literally after the fact, after things have transpired or certain events in my life, I go, oh my God, it happened. That's what, I literally predicted. And that's why it's like foretelling or foresight. And I will say that there are psychic mediums and stuff who have the ambition. Bro, so many Freudian slips. Who have the innate ability. Also, I don't know, for me, I'm sorry, my hair keeps I do believe anyone's trainable. Do I think some people are more susceptible to ESP and have extrasensory perception? Yes. I do think some people's personalities, if they're more empathetic, congenial, compassionate, like me, that's my true divine nature. I'm not a bitch. I'm not mean. I know I need to be not mean, but more demonstrative and assertive for myself, because I don't unless you really provoke me, I will not fight back. I will only fight back if you question my integrity, if you do something unlawful. That's why maybe I would have been a good lawyer, but maybe in another life. It's too late for that. Because I don't think I'm argumentative. Because lawyers, I heard the stereotype is that they're very argumentative, or at least they're very tenacious in respect to really trying to get their point across, you know. And I mean, you have to. When you cross-examine someone, you have to be able to plead your case to make it plausible and believable and gather enough evidence in front of a judge. And that's the thing with targeting. You can't, there's no, and then when people have their own little networks, the fraternities and stuff, forget about it. That's why there's sometimes, and I'm not saying forget about it, I'm not saying there's no hope, but like, you'd have to have a shit ton of evidence to be able to either have someone incarcerated or you know, even prosecuted, because I think that's how it works. I'm not sure, I don't know the judicial system too well, but I think when you have enough evidence against somebody, I think they get a warrant? I think you need a warrant from a judge, a search warrant or something, and then if you have probable cause to believe that they're guilty, possibly I think they can be apprehended, and then from there, that's when they say the Miranda rights. You have a right to attorney, you have a right to remain silent, anything you say or do will be held against you. You have a right to a free and just, I don't know how I know all that. I've heard it through whatever. And so, yeah, I mean, it is possible, I think, for some people, not all people. Me, I'm kind of like, I know I was wronged. I know I was, like, without a shadow of a doubt, this whole thing felt really premeditated to the point where, like, people literally tried to, and I think it got real. Like, it was a joke. I think it was like, I don't want to say almost like a test or an exercise or a simulation, if you will, but like, I think shit got real, and I don't know who's involved, and sometimes, and I'm like, you know, I'm like, is it a mafia mob boss? Is it like a, you know, cartel thing, or, you know, I don't know. I don't know. My thing is, though, one of the main realizations when I woke up this morning, I go, Ashley, think about it, though. I'm in my apartment right now, right? And I do brush my teeth. I go to sleep. I haven't really washed my clothes too much because the washer dryer is downstairs, and it costs money. And I'm not working right now, and I also really don't feel safe sometimes in certain spots of buildings and places, because my intuition says, my spidey senses go up and I go, I can't go there. Like, I can't, like, just me personally, I'm like, don't go to that area. Something inside me, a voice says, do not walk in there. Don't touch this door handle. It's laced with something. Be careful with that package. And that's your EQ, or not even IQ, that's just your intuition speaking to you. So, I feel really blessed in that regard. Have I been able to bypass certain things? Not really. Like, once I had touched a piece of mail and my hands went numb. Literally, they're like on fire, and I'm like, great. And that's not done with love. Someone that puts something on a package or a piece of mail to make your hands go numb, that is not done with love. That is done with maliciousness and ill content. Yeah, no, contempt. See, CONTEMPT. So, yeah. What else did I want to say? So, yes, the realization. And I go, I'm in my apartment right now. If they wanted to kill me immediately, all they have to do is put a lethal dose of whatever. Have I been exposed to possibly that? I think so. Maybe at one point. But then again, Bonnie would have been, I would have been. So, in essence, this kind of thing is really, like, I wrote it down, it's a cat and mouse chase. And it's a lot of, I think, behavioral modification to alter someone's, it's an exercise, it's almost like if you think of like a science project, if you will, and if you say, yeah, but why would they spend all that money to do that on a bunch of people who are innocent and just choose someone at random? This is the other part I put. Spirituality. I said this, I didn't post the reading yet, but it came out of my reading the day before, or the other day before, whatever, when I recorded it. It said third eye chakra. If you don't know what the third eye chakra, so the third eye sits allegedly between, you know, here. I feel so bad that I don't get this term. I'm gonna put, what is the red dot that people wear in Indian culture? Because I don't like to, I try to be mindful. A bindi. It's called the red dot worn on the forehead in Indian culture is called a bindi. It is placed at the center of the forehead between the eyebrows, an area believed to represent the third eye or the seat of concealed wisdom and energy. There you go. I was like, I know there's significance. So it stems from the Sanskrit word bindu, meaning drop or particle. It represents the Ajna chakra, an energy point associated with focus, concentration, and spiritual vision. Many believe the spot retains energy and helps maintain concentration. So that, I think, bears relevance to some. So when your third eye awakens, someone could become very in the psychic world. And I'm not trying to plead a case for, oh Lord. Oh wait, I just split the deck. Hold on. I just split the deck. Hold on. I just literally split the deck and it says house, courthouse, message, death. Like that could mean a literal death or ending of something. Death, and then child, community. Endings for a community or someone passing away. I hope that's not me. Or usually this card, when it's the death card, that could mean an ending. It's so morbid when I see a coffin. I hate that with the white lilies. Maybe someone with the name Lily is relevant. Or Liliana. Leah. I don't know, these names are coming up that are like Leah, Liliana. I did know a Liliana, actually. I worked with a Liliana. And Lily. I thought there was a guardian angel. I thought that I had a guardian angel named Lily. I'm not kidding, or a spirit guide or something. So maybe there's someone that's named Lily that's like, or a spirit guide, I don't know. Anyways, main male, mature man. I don't know. I think that means the ending of a community. House, courthouse, message, ending, or death. Child, community. A message about a death in the community of a child, or the ending of a legal proceedings over a child, or a case involving a child, a younger person. I don't know. Anyways, moving on. Maybe someone was murdered. I don't know. I'm not getting that vibe, but it's weird. I don't know. Anyways, maybe that's important for someone out there in the ethers or in the world, whoever listens to this. I didn't take it as literal death, because usually if that happens, it would have the card, the significator or indicator card would say bad health or something. But my point of showing this is that when you have your third eye opened, which governs, wisdom, foresight, intuition, that is I don't want to say a deadly weapon, but that could be a really good tool. That could be, so to the right people, that's a benefit. To the wrong people, that's a detriment. What do I mean by that? Someone who has intuitive, precognitive abilities or foresight could be a really viable asset to people. I'm not talking about government. I'm just talking about like in general, let's say you wanted to find out that I'm not a PI, right? But I actually considered, it's funny, I considered for 2 seconds trying to start a PI business, but using psychic abilities or something, and then getting certified in that. I don't know how, but I think you need experience in law enforcement, because I was like, that'd be so cool to like find out if like someone's spouse is cheating, or I don't know. I just think that would be fun, because unfortunately, infidelity is very prevalent these days, because we have social media, we have dating apps, and people can like just make a fake profile and then change their name, and you would never know, right? Unless if you're a psychic medium, you can pull cards and be like, oh, he's full of shit, he's cheating, he's married, and he has 2 kids. Whatever, go figure. Anyways, maybe that's also important for somebody. Be mindful. I will say, in the targeting world as well, they will send people this is the sad part, they will send people like handlers and maybe not in the trafficking sense, but people to just monitor your behavior. Babysitters. The lighter term would be babysitters. To keep tabs on you, to monitor your whereabouts, to, you know, if your mental state goes awry and they want to keep you in a certain mental state, they're like for me, I swear to God, I think sometimes I've had certain things in my food or my water where like I'll be like, woo, you know, and you know, say free ketamine, but ketamine costs a pretty penny, by the way. I didn't know. Like Bloom, that I had considered doing Bloom. There's like Spravato as well. I considered those things, but because of what's his face, Chandler Bing, Matthew Perry, he you know, he passed away from that. And then look at Michael Jackson. That doctor gave him propofol, and he passed away. I'm very skeptical now of getting medications and stuff because, you know, they could be laced with something. And because people, that's let's go to the next part now. Evil, because that's evil. Like, that's evil to do that to someone. And if you say, well, then why is this all happening to you? Why is it happening to everyone else? Well, as one lady said, some people are literally marked by God, by Christ, that you could say the 144,000, the chosen people. And these are people who are given like divine inheritances. Maybe not like a physical inheritance, but divine intuition, divine favor. Like if you were supposed to be lured to go into a specific alleyway or to maybe a certain relationship, God will literally, or the universe or your higher self will help you deviate from that, so that, or stray away from it, so then that way you don't get in a compromised situation where your safety gets, you know, thwarted. And or maybe a certain job, or moving to a certain location. Divine spiritual favor. Some people have other divine supernatural gifts and abilities. Me specifically, I will say that I think I've accepted the fact, I know this sounds crazy, I know there's something telepathy, which is like the ability to read someone's mind, which I know that sounds crazy, but like, and I swear to God, but I'll be next to someone, I promise you I'm not crazy, but and they said it. There was I listened to a therapy session, group session recently on BetterHelp, and the facilitator or moderator, she mentioned, she's like, if you're in this group, more often than not, there's a strong likelihood that you have, you know, discernment, and you're sensitive to energies, right? That the unseen. You have an interest in metaphysics, right? And if you don't know what that is, I'll Google it to give it, again, I don't like giving improper terms. Metaphysics meaning the metaphysical. Metaphysics is a branch of philosophy that studies the fundamental nature of reality, existence, in the universe, rather than studying specific physical things, you know, tangible, concrete things like hair clip, pen. It's more focused on the existential things, abstract, right? Asks abstract questions about what it means for something to exist, the nature of time and space, causality, and the mind-body connection. Ontology, I guess it's where the origins, the study of being and what actually exists. It explores what categories of things exist and how they relate to one another. For example, do abstract concepts like numbers exist independently of our minds? I love this stuff. This is why I go, I wish I was in school again. I miss this. But actually, you know what? I'm a bit metaphysical. So the term metaphysical literally means beyond the physical, that which can't be seen. It refers to aspects of reality, existence, and knowledge that cannot be observed, measured, or explained by the physical sciences. It is a broad concept utilized across multiple disciplines, from formal philosophy to spiritual beliefs. I always told myself that I wish there were scientists that can quantify spirituality. I've been wanting that because, you know, a lot of people think that's very woo-woo, but like, for example, a really good research study would be to see if you take someone, let's say someone has cancer, right? Or someone has some sort of like fibromyalgia, chronic pain, rheumatoid arthritis, what have you, eczema, psoriasis, and you put them in a workshop, a healing workshop for sound bath meditation, right? And you have them lay down and you close their eyes and you listen to in an actual session, right, with the bowls, Tibetan singing bowls, crystal bowls, and you have them sit, you know, and they receive the sound vibrations, because sound is energy, right? sound is actually, it's sound frequencies. So imagine you have someone there, and then on a cellular level, it's supposed to help the cellular matrix heal, right? DNA I was gonna say reparation, DNA repair, and a scientist could have actually go in and, I mean, but you would have to get blood samples. You would have to study their physiological state prior to, like, you'd have to measure cortisol levels, dopamine levels. If someone has cancer, their tumor markers, their blood, their mean platelet volume, their MPV, everything, their RBC, the WBC, like everything prior, and then you'd have to do after that. That would be a lot on a person, but it would be a really good exercise to see the profound effect of sound on the human body, because the body is pretty miraculous. Our immune systems can literally, like, we can, like, for example, look, like, it is a I'm telling you, my body has been through hell. I did a heavy metals test, and it said allegedly, I hope it's accurate, I don't know, but it said that I had a shit ton of aluminum, and I don't use deodorant with aluminum. I don't eat tinfoil, so I don't know why that was really elevated, but it would explain and attribute for why I'm feeling some pain or get chest tightness, or I feel sick, sometimes, because aluminum is not good for you. And but the body is amazing, because the kidneys filter that out to some extent. The liver, even though it could cause hepatic, like to an extent, could cause kidney failure or liver failure if you're exposed to enough heavy metals, or arsenic, thallium, lead, cyanide, which I later learned are actually naturally occurring in the universe in different foods. But if you have them in copious amounts in your food, they will be detrimental to your body. So be mindful of that, of what you eat. A lot of people, I think, are being more mindful of grocery shopping these days, like buying eggs, cheese, milk. Because when you look at it, there's a lot, like cheese has something called, I know it has natamycin in it, which is a mold inhibitor. And then there's also something called casein, also kind of like, I don't know, it's an enzyme, but that's not. And then there's cellulose, which is wood pulp, which comes from trees. That's in cheese, but I love cheese, which I probably shouldn't be eating too much of. But anyways, because that all causes inflammation in the body. A lot of this, I think the things, our bodies, which I'm learning now because of just everything that's happened to me, I think our bodies crave natural organic foods, because we were essentially in the beginning, right, that paleo diet, during Paleolithic times or Neolithic times, we were hunter-gatherers, right? We were foragers. The men went out to hunt and gather, and the women, like, they procured and curated the food, and then the women would be the ones to prepare it, right, and nurture the babies. And that's where you go by evolution and whatnot. And now we've kind of, when you think about it, our foods are, and that's where Whole Foods comes about, natural organic foods, whatever. I don't know, maybe this is important for somebody, maybe it's important for me, because I usually say if I'm talking about something, it bears relevance in some way. But going back to what I was saying about this, why would someone go so hard to target someone and do all this stuff, it could be, that could be a gift. Like, it's for the right people. Spiritual attunement, spiritual insight, foresight could be a gift or an asset, I should say, to certain people. But to people that are criminals and dishonest, detriment. And those are the people like gang members, con artists. I mentioned funny, dirty, rotten scoundrels. Maybe there is a group of dirty, rotten scoundrels out there who were pretending to be. I'm getting the vibe for some reason that there's a group of people that were pretending, in my situation, pretending to be cops, but they weren't, like fake cops. And it was funny because I was going through my YouTube feed recently. Not my YouTube feed. I took screenshots of weird thumbnails that came up on my YouTube feed, and I was filtering through it and transferring them to a file folder on my computer because I did not want that energy on my phone anymore. And I said, I'm getting it off. And it said, there was a weird thing, it said fake cop versus real cop. And I'm like, there's like it looked like something from a video game. And I was like, I'm not looking at this anymore. So I put it in I called the folder weird stuff. So I transferred it over. But yeah, there was a lot of clarity that came from when I woke up this morning. I'm grateful to be awake, number one, to be alive, because I do think my body has been put through the test of just some really horrible things, and I don't know exactly who's responsible for that, because sometimes I go, I think what people wanted to do was put me in harm's way intentionally, not to necessarily kill me, but to see how I would react, number one, and how my body would respond, number two. And if number three, if my mind, 1, 2, 3, on the right track, if my mind would be able to overcome it, because the mind is powerful. I'm telling you, like, I have been put in egregious situations. Like, I've experienced very scary things. I have had people, I think, come into my apartments that I've lived in unauthorized. I even saw it in my mind's eye. I've had people, because I'll notice things are out of place, or some things are missing, or some things I misplaced myself. So let me take that back. I'm not gonna, but sometimes, I go something, or I know, like, my water, I think, has been tampered with on numerous occasions, where I will take a shower and I will feel so weak. I'm talking like as a someone, like, just weak, like, just all the life drained out of my body, all the energy. And I go, what is in my shower? And I did read that mercury can do that. It'll have a feeling wash over you of just complete fatigue and weakness. But I'm talking profuse, like a profound sense of, like, just feeling horrible. And to prevent that, I've, like, only taken showers, like, ever so often, which I know sounds gross, and I don't smell that bad, surprisingly. And my skin does pretty well, considering, I've had, I think, cosmetics tampered with. I know someone did something to me when I was in Virginia, to Shake Shack. I loved Shake Shack. I ate Shake Shack, like, a lot. And it's such a good, I don't have anything bad to say about Shake Shack, because, like, that would be a stupid, ignorant generalization for me to say, oh, all the Shake Shacks in America and globally are horrible because of one incident. No. I had an unfortunate event where I do think someone did put a substance or chemical in my shake, because I went back to my apartment, I started to sweat and shake, and then I threw up. And I felt horrible. And that was for like 30 minutes straight, and then I had diarrhea. So, and then another time I had empanadas in Virginia, felt horrible. I felt drugged after that. I was laying there and I was like, why do I feel so weird? I was like, I'm staring off into space. And you can always, by the way, if you ever feel like you're drugged or roofied or anything like that, you can tell because your pupils will dilate or become really small, like little pinpoints. Because different things like methamphetamine, THC, barbiturates, fentanyl, that will all have an effect on the body. And that, I will say, that is an infringement upon, or a violation of my human rights as a person, for someone to sit there and expose someone to all these things. That's major human rights violation. Illegal surveillance is a major human rights violation, because we're all entitled to privacy, right? Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. I said this before, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they're endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Gangstalking throws it on its head. Gangstalking, targeting the people who do this, anything goes. And that's why I do think some of it is kind of run by almost like maybe like, I know people want to, oh, but that's the government. No. I mean, yeah and no, yes and no, because I think certain individuals need to be recruited. I think the people that are recruited to be perps have debt to pay, not financially, but like a legal debt, meaning like some of them may have had petty theft, petty like drug possession, DUIs. Maybe they were incarcerated at one point, they're on parole, or they were engaged in illegal fiscal something, and because when you think about it, right, a doctor or a surgeon is not going to sit there and drive around in their car with one headlight on, you know, with the license plate that says 666 on the back. They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. People that have careers, like when I was in Vermont, and I loved Vermont. I did genuinely, I sound like the Noah Kahan, where he says, I love Vermont, but it's the season of the sticks, and that song. I did love Vermont, because it was more secluded and quiet and whatnot. But I remember at one point I walked outside and it was like the cavalcade come out. There were people, one family actually, it was a mother and her daughter. She was more heavy set. Their window was busted in, like, and they had a trash bag over their van window. Their car, a lot of them, they don't have license plates. A lot of these people who get recruited, they're people that I think are down on their luck, or they, you know, they have skeletons in their closet, so they get blackmailed. So, you know, how do you cope through this, right? I don't know if I should make a part 2 of this. I'm just gonna do it all in one sitting. But how do you cope through that? The way that I've been able to do it is you have to have mercy on these people. Think about it, because you have 24 hours in a day, right? These people are choosing to lose. Maybe someone's losing something. To use their precious life, right? Because every life is precious. They're using their time on this earth to hyper focus on another individual in exchange for monetary compensation, or maybe, you know, like that's a sad person. Normal people have ambitions, they have goals, they have dreams, they have desires, you know, like I would love to be a mental health counselor one day. I would love to be a licensed marriage and family counselor, with a specialization in sex therapy. I know it sounds weird, but I would love that. Or a trauma-informed therapist. I don't know. Even though sometimes I'm like, do I want to go down that route? Because then that could bring up my own trauma and trigger me. So that's kind of, you know, I don't know about that. I'd rather maybe do something like lighthearted. But that, and then not veterinarian, because that's I don't have time to do that. I can't do medical school. I don't even have the money. I don't have the money. But my point is that normal people, neurotypical people, we'll say that, don't sit there and wake up in the morning and go, how can I make this person's life miserable? Oh, I'm going to put cyanide gas in the elevator. I'm going to put fentanyl on her mail. I'm going to put ketamine in her water. I think these things might have actually happened. Even though you say, but if it was cyanide, you would have been killed or knocked out. I don't know. I mean, sometimes I question everything. But if there's a God, I mean, if with God, I think all things are possible. And, you know, I don't underestimate the power of the Creator, or whatever you deem that to be. I don't underestimate that at all. I hate that word, by the way, cyanide. I say cyan. I don't like to, I eliminate them just because it scares me shitless. You know, because it is powerful. All it takes, I think it's potassium, not nitrate or citrate, I don't know. But, and I am scared, I'm not kidding. Like, I'm scared to go in an elevator because I'm like, what if, you know, that happens to me? And, you know, people go, oh, just use your mind and overcome it. I'm like, but that doesn't justify the fact that someone's going to maybe try to put my life in harm's way. That's not fair to me. I'm not an alien. I'm not Superwoman. I'm not Wonder Woman. I'm a regular, schmegular person. I just wrote fentanyl mail and it looked like fentanyl mall. So be mindful of someone, by the way, because someone wants to do something at a mall. I hope I'm not, maybe I'm foretelling something. Someone wants to do someone's clothes or in a store and expose someone to fentanyl at a mall. I just got that now. So yeah, but how do you cope through it? You have to have mercy. Reminds me of the Kanye West song with Big Sean. Mercy. No, I'm not just so thirsty. I can get ratchet, but it's actually a really good song. Kind of derogatory, but anyways. You have to have mercy on these people. They want you to act out. and they want you to be angry. No one bullies anyone unless they want to provoke someone to get an arise or a reaction out of them. Think about it. Think about it. I'm not sitting here trying to bully people. I have no desire to do that. My heart is rooted in compassion. I love being of service to other people. I want to see people smile. I want to leave people better off than when I first encountered them. That's my goal. None of that stupid shit. Oh, let me walk around you so I can provoke. No, bitch. Like, take your petty ass bullshit and stay in the corner over there. Like, I don't need that. The world is already dark enough with certain things, with misfortune and terrorist attacks and, you know, famine, poverty, homelessness. And the disparity, by the way, that's another thing I want to mention. The disparity that I've noticed between the upper middle class, the rich, and the poor, there's no excuse for that. And I'm sorry that's kind of on a side tangent note, but like, there's no excuse for that. There are people, families I've seen, I don't know if it's the Gaza thing, or I've seen videos of like people's homes being bombed, and, or, you know, just, it's just horrible. Wars, I mean, there's no excuse for that. There's diplomacy, there's civil union, there's you know, like, there's ways to mediate and negotiate that don't involve physical violence. You know, the allocation and distribution of resources, that could be equalized, you know, and neutralized. You know, war, that's in my opinion. So it's like, you know, but so when in the grand scheme of things, when you really take a macro view, not a micro view, there is that disparity, and you wonder, and that's what I'm saying, you know, when you sit back and you go, who's responsible for this? Why would someone, it's a lesson there, it's a lot, because the fact that it still persists, you know, targeting and gangstalking, the fact that it's still prevalent and continues is just, it shows that there's the system, and I'm not trying to be mean or condescending or judgmental, but there's a not a rift, but something is broken, because you have a bunch of people all crying out, you know, saying, hey, I'm hungry, hey, I'm homeless, hey, but then you have people that are billionaires, gazillionaires. Some of them do share their wealth. I'm not going to put that down. Some people, they give back, you know, entertainers, some of them give back, politicians, you know, some give back, some do it for good intentions, some do it for PR, for public relations, so they get good publicity. But it's sad. And there was no, when I look at my life, I go, there was no excuse. I had everything. I had a career. I mean, I'm not really big on that, like, oh, I want my career. You know, I want my child life specialist. Like, I never was like that. I felt honored and humbled to work amongst individuals that were qualified and smart and well vetted. And I was able to progress as an individual, as a healthcare professional, and acquire new skills and new knowledge. I had amazing mentors, and I'm not perfect, but I found, you know, kind of my niche. I liked the medical side of things more. And so just to see my life fall apart before my eyes, there's something really wrong, really corrupt with that. Really corrupt. Dirty, rotten scoundrels. I didn't know, none of us, these targeted people, none of us deserve this. We have lives. I mean, I literally, because I don't give up and I'm ambitious and tenacious, I literally, I exhausted all my resources. I went through all of my savings. I mean, I had a good nest egg. I've said this before in my other video, I had a good amount of money saved. I was sitting pretty. I was like, oh, by 60, I'll have $300,000 in my bank account to retire off of. I have zero. When I say I have zero, I have maybe, I don't mind saying, wait, $40 to my name? I don't mind saying it. I literally have $40 to my name right now. The only way to go is up. When you hit rock bottom and bikini bottom, and let me make it very clear, no, I don't do drugs. I don't have a substance use disorder. I don't have anorexia. I don't have an eating disorder. I love food. I see food. I want to eat it. I see it. I like it. I want it. I got it. In the words of Ariana Grande, who's very talented, by the way. And it's unfortunate. And I think what I'm getting right now is I see a chessboard, and some target individuals are tested, literally, and it's like a game of chess, and we are like, some are like pawns that are moved around, and and it's honestly, I think, and you ask why, but why, Ashley? Why would an elite people, why would they do this, corporation, this and that in Hollywood? It's entitlement. It's entitlement, control, status. There are some people who their life existence is solely based on their social status, how many followers they have, if they're well liked by a community, where they stand within the social hierarchy, socioeconomic status, money. And they will do anything to keep that intact. Now, there are other people who are not concerned with that. But light workers, empaths, starseeds, we are somewhat of a threat to the matrix or the system that was kind of, not saying the system, but that, not US system, I don't mean it like that. I mean like, and it's very interesting. I've seen this shift in, and I don't know if it's on the Instagram because of social media, the what's it called? The birth of social media and all that, people and content creation. A lot of people, not even content creation, people are just shifting their paradigm and realizing, like, I've seen a video where the guy's like, I'm a neurosurgeon and I left my corporate job to do this, this, and this, because no one's finding the fulfillment anymore. And that's what spirituality is. It's the relationship you have between the outer external world and like the internal world. And it's yourself with yourself. So people's spiritual alarm clock goes off and they go, this is not enough for me anymore. In relationships, in jobs, that's God. I do believe that is your higher self. And here's the thing. When we say we're created in God's own image, right? You have a group of people, elite people, right? If it's true about whoever these people are that want to control the narrative and control, I don't say control people's minds, but they want to control the trajectory of certain people's lives. Starseeds, empaths, light workers are a threat to that. Why? Because they have the third eye. Because they're able to read energy, tap into the unseen. Think about if there's a sinister group of people, right? Imagine, I'm seeing this, imagine there's a group of people who are sinister as fuck, excuse my language, and they are, and I don't want to say satanic, but like they're like bad people, because there's a difference, by the way, between Satanism and Church of Satan. Let's look it up. I hope no one's going through my browser because I'm not a satanic. Satanism versus, oh, there's Luciferianism. Church of Satan, that's what I want. Modern Satanism is a non-theistic religion where adherents do not worship the devil, but instead use Satan as a symbol of rebellion, personal liberty, and individualism. The Church of Satan is the original elitist organization founded in 1966, while a Satanist refers to the broader, diverse practitioner. Church of Satan was founded by Anton LaVey, who authored the Satanic Bible. The philosophy centers on radical, so it's the focus on, it says social Darwinism, hedonism, which is the art of pleasure seeking, self-pleasure, not self-pleasure. It's focusing on the self versus external. So Christianity focuses a lot on offering compassion to your fellow man. These people, like, they say you only deserve compassion to people, not to everyone. They're selective. They do use magic as well. It says they heavily reject activism, egalitarianism, and groupthink. Does not view itself as a community, but rather an assembly of separate individuals. So radical individualism. It's basically survival of the fittest, every man for himself kind of thing. And that the concept that individuals are their own gods. So, it's a satanic temple founded in because I think this is important because there's a lot of misinformation that gets thrown out because people will come to their own conclusions, you know, because we all are able to do that. We live in a country where there's freedom of speech, so we can, like this, in another country in the Middle East, this would never be allowed. Women can't even, there's women, because that's in respect, when women wear a hijab and they show only their, you know, this, you know, they, that's because that's in respect and reverence to God and stuff like that. But I wouldn't be able to do this in another country. Here you can, because there's a lot of censorship, you know, abroad and stuff. But this is based in self-worship. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, so there's a guide here that explains it. It's almost like, how do I explain it? This is the vibe I'm getting right now. It's almost like rebelling against the systems that are indoctrinated into society, where, because a lot of people, if you look at it, people can go the same thing, just like how people say, oh, satanic cult. They could say the same thing about Catholicism and Christianity. Oh, we all worship this one guy who walked the earth and wore sandals, and we lay palms at his feet. Like, and religion itself, I remember I'm not a communist. I don't want to make sure I am not a communist by any means, but I learned in high school, I'll never forget, Karl Marx, and he talked about the bourgeoisie. He said, religion is the opiate of the masses. Religion is an excellent way to control people. That's why the Roman Catholic Empire, they looked at Christ as a threat, because he was, not complying with what their agenda. And there was also no, politicians were deemed as gods, or they you know, or close to God, because they were pious or considered holy, right? So when you talk about Pontius Pilate and all that, these were authority figures who they thought that they had divine right. So there was no separation of church and state. Here, we don't have that, even though I think we are predominantly, I would assume, Christian. So if you look here, like, for example, it's funny because there's a picture here. It says religious liberty for all, and it's these people who are, and say they're not engaged in activism, but it says the Satanic Temple is taking on the Christian right, and meaning, I guess, far right. And it's not always what it seems. I think there's a difference between Church of Satan and Satanism. I'm not, by the way, I don't, it's very much this belief is everything is black and white, and I think that's also why they use black and white, maybe. I believe they worship Baphomet, I believe, but because Satanists don't worship the devil, but they have their this entity or this being that has the caudalis on, I think there's a picture of it, which is as above, so below. And there is an element, I think, of magic that's used in that as well. But there is, I just want to mention the distinction between those two religious doctrins. And I'm trying to bring up this picture. I don't know how to bring up this picture. It says, someone on Reddit just found out there's a big difference between the Church of Satan. Now, I will say this, and there was a lady, Teal Swan, she went through what she called satanic ritual abuse, where she was brutally, like, used for different acts, like really bad abusive things, like where they, I don't know, they drank blood, you know, blood rituals, sex rituals. That is a very dark, ominous kind of way of going about things. So I think you have to be, you have to be careful and be mindful. And that's why it's always good to go by facts. And but I guess that bears relevance again, because I go, maybe there's a lot of speculation of like, oh, it's the satanic thing, and it's this and that, and yeah, it could be, but at the same time, there's also people who are politicians who are Catholics and this and that, and people are in the past, they're scoundrels. And I'm not saying this, I'm saying in general, like there's people who say they go to church every day and they're cheating on their spouse on Tinder, but they claim to be devout Catholics or Protestants or whatever. And then there's people who are atheists or Satanists who are like, no, you need to take accountability for your actions, and you need to be black and white, and none of this fluff. I think it's the word that I'm thinking is no fluff. Because some people look at religion as a way to, and it's true though. It is, when you think about it, religion isn't, I mean, I'm a spiritual person. I do believe in Christ. I do. That's my thing. I do believe in that. I don't like to push that on people because that's very arrogant to do that. To try to, be like, it's my way or the highway. My thing is, I try to say my religion is kindness. Treat people fairly. Be honest. Have integrity. That has nothing to do with religion. When you say you're going to do something, you do it. Your words and your actions are synonymous and aligned with each other. So, just wanted to say that. But going back to what I was saying, but also I want to mention the Luciferianism. I think, is it versus Luciferianism? That's the other one that I think, or Satan versus Lucifer. Satan fell from grace because I think Satan was Lucifer, who was God's allegedly right-hand angel, and then he's like, no, I'm going to do it myself. And, that kind of thing. So, yeah. I mean, you can Google it on your own time and see what that, but I am someone, I do like to just engage in inquiry, innocent inquiry, by the way, just because I don't like to espouse on things that I don't know much about. But I will say the black and white imagery, the use of the color red. Red is a really powerful color. The use of the pentagram as well. It alludes to a very bold way of being. And I do think that there's magic that's used in that to almost control, because there's people who know alchemy really well, and they know how to use energy not to heal, but to bring pain, to bring, like, there's sex magic, love magic, and Christians deny that. Catholics deny all of that. Necromancy, this kind of stuff too, divination, this is considered part of the esoteric, occult. So some people get initiated into that, because they might have those gifts and abilities. But that world in of itself, you have to be very careful with, because just like with everything, there's duality. There's the light and the light side and the dark side. So, like when you talk about in Star Wars, there's the light and the goodness and whatever. So you have to be careful. And I don't claim to know everything and the ins and outs of the universe, but what I will say is that targeting and gangstalking is not really rooted in love. I do feel like, and the vibe I'm getting right now is that certain individuals or people feel like they deserve to have ownership and control over maybe the masses, over individuals. And so the way that they do that to keep people compliant is, for example, like with me, for some reason with my food, I eat specific things, and I'll eat, like, lately, certain sweets aren't sitting well with me. Like, I'll get a weird allergic reaction. Never used to happen before. I used to eat, like, chocolate chip cookies, Oreos, all the time. And I knew, for me, I will say, and it's funny, I had a card reading that said heal addictions and stuff, and sugar has always been something that I do believe I have parasites in my body that are like, that latch on like little hosts, and that say, like, we need sugar, give us sugar. And if my cells don't get that, then I'm like, so the caveat of that, like, you have to, it's eating healthy foods, and that's hard for me because they don't taste good to me. But anyways, I don't want to get too sidetracked off of that. But going back to how do you cope through, you know, how do you cope through this? Because it is very egregious. It is. There's no, you never, I don't care if you're satanic, I don't care if you're Christian, Catholic, Buddhist, Hindu, Seventh-day Adventist, Pentecostal, Mormon, whatever, Scientologist, putting someone's life in harm's way, I don't care if it's for science, I don't care if it's for retribution. Obviously retribution and revenge are like bad, like that's rooted in evil and contempt. But normal humans, they don't wake up in the morning and go, how can I undermine someone's life? Oh, I'm gonna put mercury in their water. I'm gonna rig their elevator with cyanide gas so that way when, or some fatal gas or a noxious gas, so that when they, because that's trafficking, that's human trafficking. And I'm not gonna automatically go, oh, those are the Satanists. It's the Satan. It could be who knows what it could be. But usually when someone gets sedated, their intent is to hopefully one day incapacitate the person so that they can take them wherever. And I'm not kidding. And that's the thing, plausible deniability. I cannot, like I said before, plausible deniability is the ability of individuals or organizations to deny knowledge of or responsibility for any damnable actions committed by others because of the lack of evidence that can confirm, let me go here, confirm their suspicions. It's very difficult. I can't compile gas and be like, oh, look, judge, here's... Now, if I had a good detective or a good law enforcement person, yeah, they could say, yeah, I have the comms, the communications between the individual who rigged the elevator and the person who put that stuff in the elevator. Oh, I have the communications between said store manager, who or said vendor who approved of putting XYZ stuff in the food. There is that, like there's U.S. Marshals, there's SWAT, but there's only so much jurisdiction that people have. But I'm not a threat, so I would only be a threat to the people who are guilty of a crime. I'm not a detective and I don't get paid for that. But I can't shut off my spidey senses and my intuition. And I do feel like a cat with 9 lives because I feel like I've been blessed over and over again through scary experiences where I felt like I had to employ such faith in myself. And that, yeah, that could be a test, but you don't do that to someone. You don't put someone in harm's way where they can sustain an injury or let alone death or unconsciousness. Because I've had family members tell me, yeah, but did you die though? I'm like, you're justifying abuse and violence. Cyanogen gas is that's used in movies to kill people, like spy movies and shit. You know, like James Bond type of stuff. And I'm not James Bond. I don't 007, like, you know, I'm not that. I'm a regular schmegular person. I hate bringing this up over and over again. I was stalked. I was hacked. Very hard to prove. My case was dismissed really because the evidence, I didn't have a substantial amount of evidence. But if I knew, I was like, okay, I'm going to prove this thing with this guy. And, you know, and I couldn't. And I didn't want any harm to come to him. I'm not like that type of person, like, oh, let me be a bitch. And like, oh, I hope he dies and like suffers a tragic, no. I just wanted to be left alone. I wanted my phone to be not hacked. I wanted normalcy. I wanted privacy. I wanted to become an occupational therapist, and that's it. And live in Florida and move up north and you know, in northern Florida perhaps, and you know, get a house one day save up enough money to have a house, modest-sized house. But maybe that wasn't in the cards for me. I do think there's a spiritual element of destiny swapping, though. I do think this is where the whole black magic thing comes in, and the spiritual warfare thing, because I do think people use dark magic, or black magic, if you will, to have certain events conspire in their favor. And that's not really fair. Because I'm out here trying to live my life like an innocent person, following the rules, not breaking the law. I didn't ever steal anything. I didn't commit fraud. I don't know. The only thing is I got an identity theft booklet from a cop, and that's it. And I go, but this doesn't really help me. This is just a book. Like, I really I don't know what is going on behind the scenes. I just wanted peace. Not prosperity, peace. And when I eat foods now, or I drink water, I feel like I'm drinking shards of glass. I know that sounds crazy, and you would say, well, Ashley, why would they sit there and rig your food with venom and all? And I go, I don't know. I don't know. But I believe in justice. I believe in fairness. I believe in treating your fellow man with compassion and respect. Respect is everything to me. And I have witnessed multiple times people be disrespected on numerous occasions. And I told myself, is it social? Is it political? But I'm not politically active. I didn't even vote in the last election. I donated to the Harris campaign, Kamala Harris, because I was like, oh my God, she's a woman. Mind you, let me preface this. When it comes to politics, I am so naive with politics. I don't know diddly squat. I literally used to be given a ballot at home, and because my uncle's a lawyer, and I would just, oh, that's the person. Oh, who's this guy? That's guy. Okay. I didn't know diddly squat. Oh, we're gonna do the zoning laws. Okay. I was like, all I cared about was, I was like, what, is Christmas coming soon? Are they gonna decorate their Christmas park? Okay, great. That's all I cared about. I didn't care about, I'm like, are they a nice person? Okay, great. The Republican thing, Democrat thing, I didn't even pay attention to. And then, because of what happened to me, I started to take more of a little smidgen of a bit of interest. I was very, and I still am, the Obamas, people are gonna say what they want about, presidents and whatnot, but the First Lady's words, I remember there was a moment when and I'm sorry if I cry, it's just, I take myself back to these moments that were not fun moments. I was a waitress, and I was really distraught and confused and scared. And I remember I went into the bathroom. It was a Saturday or Sunday night, super busy night in Miami, and because my family kept denying that it was happening, and my family means everything to me. And I had a really tight-knit family. And I'm sorry if I cry, it's just because I love, I was so close to my mom. And I had the best dad in the world. And that was really hard to cope through, because I kept getting invalidated over and over again. Oh, it's not happening. Nothing's happening. There's nothing wrong with your phone. Your computer is fine. He didn't stalk you. Like, you need to get over it. I'm like, no, I'm scared, That fear was not unfounded. It was justified. And I remember I would sit in the bathroom. I sat on the floor, and I closed the door. And I remember I would, there's a kid named Zach Zobiak who had osteosarcoma. And his video, I would watch his video, because I go, he was such a bright light, right? Like, and I go, he went through something really hard, and he turned it into something beautiful, and he created music out of it. And so I said, if he can go through that at 17, I can go through that at 27, 28, however old I was when this started. And then I would go through my photo library, and I had a picture of the quote that Michelle Obama said that was like, when they go low, you go high. Because people around me kept being really mean. And I kept saying, God, but I didn't do anything wrong. Why are cops tailing me? Why do I see these black SUVs following me everywhere? You know, like big black SUV, like, I'm not kidding, I wouldn't make that up. I have no need to make that up. So I would look at the thing and I had it as my background for like, I don't know how long. I switched it now. Mine now is like, you know, I have a picture of God, Jesus' hand that says you can get through this, and you can do hard things, and but it said when they go low, you go high. So I don't know, that helped me. Whether you liked her or not, like, that helped me. So, you know, I tried, and I looked to people that were influential to me, that I thought were like role models, and I feel angry sometimes because I go, this is not the way the world should be. Right? We have movies that inspire us, and people and authors who write books that are meaningful, and there's so much beauty in the world, and then to be met with this stupid situation where I'm exposed to different things. I mean, there's no excuse. That's preventable. Putting something on someone's mail. I've touched mail twice now and my hands went numb. I touched an orange juice bottle from a fresh market, like a supermarket, with whole natural foods, and they're expensive. I can't even afford that food. And I go in there because I go, okay, it's natural, it's organic, I need to eat better, sustainable foods. And, you know, I put my hand on the bottle, and my hand got blisters, and it was red from here to, and I go, oh my God, I go, who says that to, you know, who would do that to me? And then I was like, but I'm not politically active. You know, I don't, you know. And then I started to look into things more, and I go, let me start figuring things out. I need to not develop some sort of political identity, but I was for myself, like, you know, when everyone has a certain identity, right? Like within the parameters of like a religious identity, meaning how they relate to like their individuality and how that relates to a specific subject matter, right? Religion, sex, relationships, dating, food, nutrition, pop culture. Everyone has their own belief system, right? And then, or, you know, or even just their place in society as an individual, right? How do you identify politically? How do you identify from a social standpoint? What are your values and beliefs and, you know, your system? So, I will say, in a commentary for that, on a side note, sometimes I will say that, like, I feel like someone could, now, even though we do live in a world of freedom of speech, I feel like there's still, I'm so reluctant to speak on that, because people get killed these days. Like, if you say, oh, I lean more left, will the right come and try to hurt you for that? But then if you say, oh, I lean more right, will the left try to come and hurt you for that? There was, I don't know if it was in Minnesota or Wisconsin, there were the senators who got hurt by some guy. They killed the dog, right? Their golden retriever, and them. But in the same token, there was, I don't know if people want to blame the left and say, oh, there was this incident where a conservative person, oh, when Charlie Kirk passed away, immediately it was, oh, the left, this, and I didn't know the guy at all. But obviously I'm not the person. I'm just saying, like, there was no excuse for that. That's when hate becomes toxic and dangerous, because there are people who do feel so compelled and inclined to put hits out on people. And people don't like people who speak up either, especially when someone's well-educated or smart and resourceful. I'm not trying to brag, I'm just saying, like, I mean, I'm not super smart. Like, when I do those assessments for the jobs, I'm like, they're like, Johnny has 6 apples. He takes them, like, there are this, and I'm like, oh God, I can't do this. the proportion. Like, I'm just like, I don't think this is too much. Just, ugh, my lips are so chapped. So, yeah. Now I do feel like it's intentional. Like, the fact that, like, I go, do I need to, like, do I need to make my own laundry detergent now? Because, like, I seriously, like, I've had instances where I've washed clothes, and I could just be sensitive, but I have the Tide free, or whatever, where it's free of, like, preserve, whatever, bad stuff, and, because I am sensitive to things, I'll get rashes and stuff, so, it's supposed to be free of, like, any bad chemicals or whatnot, and I remember I had someone wash something of mine, and I would know that someone was my, like, family, and it could have been innocent. Maybe she did. No, actually, it wasn't my detergent. I think it was my detergent. Yeah, it was my. So I can't blame it. It was my detergent, and I literally, it was horrible. And I go, what's in my detergent? I go, who would do that? You know, who would put something in detergent to, you know, pun intended, like, to hurt somebody neurologically? Oh, wait. Oh, no, it's fine. Or trace amounts of cyanide, or trace amounts of a neurotoxin, Botox. I mean, and I can't prove that. Like, I'm not going to go buy a cyanide test kit. I could, or a lead test kit. But I will say I did a drug test after I ate a takeout food, and I felt really horrible, and I recorded myself, and I go, I feel really funny. And I watched it back recently. I was like, oh yeah, there was something definitely going on. And I felt like my chest was sunken in, like respiratory suppression. I felt disoriented and slower. My thinking was slower. And I tested slightly positive, not completely positive, but like there was a very faint line. And you know, it was fentanyl, barbiturates, methamphetamine, like, it's just. And I go, who would do that to someone? That's evil. So again, how do we cope with that? Because there's things that are not within my control, right? Poison, drugging, trafficking, those are things that I cannot control. And I would look to my community, the people who are in law enforcement, who got the training and are qualified, who should be coming to my aid. I haven't had that. So you say, how do I cope through this? Or anybody, how? Because hopefully it doesn't get to that point, you know, where you experience it the way I am, because it's pretty horrible. Like, I'm like, how am I gonna, like, I will say majority of my clothes though don't really fit me anymore, because I lost so much weight. I am scared to touch them. You know, I wore, my shirts were like size small, or even medium at one point. Like earlier, like way past. I was a little chunky monkey. I look back at pictures of myself growing up, I was like, oh my god, I was a chunky monkey. Because when I went to high school, I went to an art school, and they had this, I forgot the name of it. It was so good. They had these batidos, these shakes that were like chocolate shakes but iced. Oh my god, they were so good. And I ate those, and then I ate tostada. That was my lunch sometimes, which is really bad. If you don't know what tostada is, it's Cuban toast with a shit ton of mantequilla butter, and it is so good. And they put it in a plancha, like they flatten it, and then it gets kind of burnt on the outside. It is so, Cuban toast is so good. Just like French baguette is really good. But they flatten the thing, and then, yeah, and then I had a batido. I had the shake, and it was like, so in you know the movie Serendipity, the frozen hot chocolate? It was that. I had frozen hot chocolate. It wasn't a batido. It wasn't a shake. And it was so good. And I was almost like 130 pounds in high school. And I was like 17 years old or 18. Anyways, it's okay. And now I'm like 99 pounds, which is crazy. I am trying to gain weight, but none of my clothes really fit me anymore. And I miss having tetas, because my tetas are, I don't have the tetas that I had before. But I'm hoping that in some way, shape, or form, I can slowly gain that weight back. And And I know some of you probably go, oh, one of the solutions is, you know, leave the country. Gangstalking is going to be everywhere. I hate to tell you people. You go to France, it'll happen in France. You go to Italy, it'll happen in Italy. And let me tell you how it works. They recruit different groups. There's mafia, there's this. So if you think that, oh, I'm gonna go to Australia and I'm gonna bounce out of this hellscape. No, it'll follow. It'll follow. I mean, and Australia's, I mean, if anyone's looking for, I would say New Zealand and Australia, because, I mean, Australia is very expensive though. I mean, English speaking, Anglo-Saxon places, right? I don't know, actually I take it back. Australia I think is very multicultural. I think it's very multicultural. It's a melting pot. You know, I'm very much a firm believer of, I follow the rules. I have way too much debt now. I don't mind, like, what is it, $60,000? Like, I don't even know. It's sometimes you wonder, people probably go, oh, just end your life. You don't need to deal with this anymore. I'm like, no, bitch. I'm not about, I want to live my life. I want to live my life. And I wholeheartedly believe that if someone is purposely, intentionally trying to come up against me to hurt me, the right individuals, law enforcement, they need to deal with that. Because that's a crime. If they're in on it and they're like, oh, we're going to let her, no. I've suffered enough. I've gone through the dark night of the soul. I've done the inner shadow work, healing, child, whatever. I've done that. I've been gaslit. I've been psychologically thwarted. I've been ridiculed. I've been maimed, isolated, ostracized, scapegoated. I've been through it all. And I still try to retain goodness and kindness, because why not? Like, why am I going to hold bitterness and contempt for strangers that I don't even know? The entire world can't be against Ashley. I was going to say my last name, but it's not possible. I'm good. I'm kind. So therefore, there is a counterpart. I'm going to say the man, but like there's people like that who resonate with that energy. And it's only people that want severe amounts of control will go ahead and say, I want you to pretend to get close to her, to do this, to try to, no. I don't play, I'm not gonna, you can't, and that's the thing, you know, you say, well, how do you deal with it? And that's when I say, I woke up this morning and I had a lot of realizations where I go, if someone really wanted you dead, I mean, yeah, they could tamper with my food, they could put poison, yeah. Sometimes I tell myself, I go, I woke up, what was it, 2 days ago, I was blue from like here down, all the way down. Even my arm, look at my arm, look at this arm. It's so swollen. I don't know how or why, you know, I said the TOS thing, but it's so swollen. It hurts so much. I know I need to exercise it. And I'm scared it could be a DVT, which is a deep vein thrombosis, which that can turn to a pulmonary embolism. But I think I'd already be dead by now if that was the case. I just think it's nerve compression. And you do have the aorta, there's the aortic arch, and it goes like this, and then and I do have horrible posture, and I do sleep on my, so like, it's catching up with me. Poor posture catches up with me. I will say though, there could be an actual crime where someone really wants to try to murder me, and maybe for money, I don't know. People are crazy, but you would think if that's the case, then the FBI would be on that, unless people are corrupt and they want to steal. You would think SWAT, U.S. Marshals, and all that, but you never know. I don't know. But how now going to, because it's a long ass video. Oh my God, 2 hours. How do you cope with this? How do you cope with evil? How do you cope with things that are not within your control? Well, first of all, I look at, like I said, you have to have mercy. Anyone that's going to dedicate their lives to trying to sabotage another individual's life is someone that's really sad and misguided. Like they're like not happy within themselves. Hitmen, assassins, anybody whose line of work is to be a hitman, bro. Why? I get it. I get there's mafia. I'm not stupid. I'm not ignorant to the fact that there's mafia, cartel, drug people, drug lords. I'm not naive to that. There's people, murderers, rapists, serial killers, terrorists. As we speak, there's people, terrorists right now. I can't find them. I don't know. In my mind's eye, maybe I could. You know, I don't want to say they come from other countries. I do think there's people from other countries, but there's also people internally that are bad. But more so, I think other countries. That's the vibe I'm getting. And I don't want to get too much into it. But, because I'm not in, what's it called? Counterterrorism, where you prevent that stuff. Intelligence, whatever, community. Yeah, anyone who wishes ill upon another person. And also, too, another thing is, if you're a bystander of it, if you see someone getting hurt and you don't do anything about it, shame on you. Because one day that could be you. One day you could be in my position. And whereas what's distinct from me is I would help you. I would help you. I don't expect anything back. A Starbucks coffee, a cookie, I don't expect anything back. I would just do it because that's who I am. It's a good Samaritan. That's what you do. You help your fellow man. And that's why this whole thing threw me for a loop, because I go, but wait, God, don't military, when they become active duty military, don't they do that because they want to give their life to the greater good of humanity? Like, isn't that why we, you know, like people, not we, I'm not in the military, but like, isn't that why people choose to offer their services and make a sacrifice to go to war or to get trained to be able to defend this country? So why is it that the very same people who are supposed to be defending against terrorism and against this are coming after people who are taunting and provoking people who are innocent? Or maybe there's a smear campaign, so they think that they're doing right by the community. Because that happens too, by the way. When you're gangstalked and targeted, what happens is that sometimes they start the smear campaign, so then you get put on neighborhood watch, and then the neighborhood or community thinks that they're doing right by the community by taunting you, because they're like, oh, we're gonna, like, God forbid someone lies and said, let's say someone said I was a pedophile. Let's just say that, right? Let's just say hypothetically someone was like, oh, she had photos of minors and she flirted with a teenager. Let's just say hypothetically. That never happened. I've never done that. If I ever witnessed someone doing that, I would report. First of all, I'd go to the person doing it, and then I'd report it to an administrator of a school, because you don't do that to someone. Ever. Ever. And there are females, by the way. When I worked at a preschool, we had to watch a video about child predators, and there was, surprisingly, get ready for this, surprisingly, women are just as liable, if not more so, to be, not to say traffickers, but child predators, and engage in some sort of illicit behavior with minors. I just realized that there's a boxing class I was supposed to go to, but it's fine. I missed it's fine. It was probably, anyways. So, and there's people who sacrifice their kids. There's honor killings. There's mercy killings. There's people who sacrifice people for money, lots of money. Who they go, oh, if you do this, if you take this person's life, I'll guarantee you this. That's a thing. It's evil. Evil. The Turpin family. I forgot what the Turpins did. Let's see what the Turpins. I just remember the name Turpin. Turpin family. The Turpin case involved the abuse of children and dependent adults by their biological parents, David and Louise Turpin. Oh, that's bad. A house of horrors. Turpin siblings speak out on the house of horrors. Foster parents of several so these kids were abused by their, so anyways, you know, there's a lot. But you have to have mercy on them, because I'm not going to get into the religiosity aspect of salvation and redemption, but it's and don't do it for that. It's when you purge your soul and you cleanse your soul and your aura and your space, and you sit with yourself for a second, and you gain clarity, and you go, I'm not going to offer ill contempt, because there's people who sit and eat, like they sit in a cesspool of just resentment, And you would think after everything I've been through, I go, but the reason why I don't is because I've seen so much good in the world. I've seen the opposite of evil. When I worked as a waitress, I met such wonderful people who made me laugh and tipped me so generously. I still remember them to this day. I remember their names and everything. I've taught kids yoga to families that single moms, single dads, and I had the best moments with some of these people. And I've had, and I don't cry. I mean, it's just sad because I had some really good memories with people that made me feel very loved, and they weren't, and I never, for me, I have a really hard time. I have a bad relationship with money because to me, I go, money is the root of all evil. So, I remember my mom would be like, you need to charge more money because you're selling yourself short and like you're whatever. And I was like, but no, if they can't afford it, or I don't want to be greedy like that. So I charged maybe like $20 an hour. And then some of them would overpay me. Like when I was a babysitter and I did childcare, providing, not nannying necessarily, but like I did, I watched kids. I watched from like 3-month-old babies to, I watched them grow to being 2 years old, 4 years old. And I loved it. And I looked at those children as if they were my own. And I said, how would I want to treat those children? So, and they treated me like as if I were not their daughter, but they said, you're free to have, and that's when that was a time when my food was not tampered with at all. I ate anything I wanted and it was fine, and everything was fine and dandy, but I've felt that hospitality and that generosity from people, so that's why I carry a lot of hope with me, because I've seen the goodness and the grace of people. And I've also seen the evil. But I'm so deeply rooted in compassion that I can't shake that. Not to say that I'm not afraid. Like I am afraid. Like I'm not perfect. And I get scared because it's scary. I can't tell a mean person, leave me alone. I mean, I've done it for 6 years. I tried to say, report it as much as I could, and I don't want to see any harm come to the guy who did this. Some days I say under my breath, I'm like, oh, fuck this and this and this. I get it. Like, it sucks. I just wanted to be left alone. I wanted my education and my career. And instead, now, I'm constantly having to fight these battles, not of the mind. It's almost like when when you have your intuitive insight, something bad's gonna happen, and then if you see it play out in your life and you're like, I told you so, like I have pizza that I got from, I didn't get it from my family, got it from yesterday, and I had, I go, should I even take it? Because it could be tainted. Every time I've had pizza now, I'm like, but it's the easiest thing to eat, and Bonnie and I share it. But every time I've eaten either the cheese or something, I get like, and I go, is it poisoned? Is it, who would do that to someone? I'm not hurting anybody. And I'm going to be targeted just because I'm slightly gifted? It doesn't make sense. So is Teresa Caputo. So is Tyler Henry. There's clairvoyants who have fucking, okay, ready for this? You want to talk about clairvoyance? The fucking CIA has people who are fucking psychic people. I was watching a video about psychic abilities, and there's a dude who literally was almost assassinated 5 times because he was a remote viewer or whatever, and that's a threat to people outside of, United States or whatever. 5 times, and he was from Miami, Florida. 5 times. Not to say that that's what's happening to me, but I don't work for the CIA. I don't do that, but, and there's a lot of, with Gangstalking, the first people that come up is that organization. Oh, it's this, and I'm like, but maybe, I don't know. But what would they have to do? Think about it. What would they have to do? That's an intel gathering organization. The FBI is an apprehending, criminal law enforcement organization. Those are 2 distinct things. I'm sure they work cohesively or in tandem with one another. I would assume to fight crime, but what would they have to do with trying to hurt me as a human? I don't know. I liked my worldview of, or perception of what government was or is, and I know, you know, so you have to, my thing is you have to have mercy, you know, you have to have mercy on people, because there's a lot of people that are hurting. Hurt people hurt people. Could it be satanic? Maybe. Could it be Luciferian? Maybe. Right here it says Luciferianism focuses more on spiritual ascension, the pursuit of enlightenment, and a balance between light and dark. Interesting. Lucifer meaning light bringer or morning star. Primary focus Gnostic style enlightenment, mental expansion, and self-knowledge. Christianity this views Luciferian figures as independent thinkers challenging a restrictive or ignorant creator. Luciferianism is it's rooted in highly individualized and philosophical, less focused on public activism. Satan, the word Satan often meaning adversary or rebel. Primary focus is the physical material world and carnal desires. So that's why hedonism plays a role in Satanism. Often explicitly anti-clerical or uses Christian taboos to challenge societal norms. So they're essentially like defying Christian doctrine is what it is, which I hope no one's trying to come after me. That's Satan. Please don't. I beg you. I'm not going to push Jesus on people. He was a dude just like Buddha was, you know. My religion is kindness. We'll leave it at that. Treat people fairly and kindly. Activism, it says Satanism is heavily politically and socially involved satanic temple. Do what you will with that. That's a good definition of atheistic and humanistic, meaning modern Satanists do not believe in a literal supernatural devil. Instead, they revere Satan as an archetypal rebel who questions authority. So they're essentially rebelling against authority. That's what Satan is. But for me, specifically, I would not identify as that, because my view of that is that from the biblical sense is Satan, Lucifer, who fell from grace from the right hand of God and was like, pieces, like I could do it myself. Which is almost like when you think Narcissus, the Greek god Narcissus. The word narcissist comes from the Greek god Narcissus, who basically, it's the idea that he looked, I think, in the pond, and then he was like, I like myself more than, it was all just self, like, you know, about you, like, so, yeah, I'm just trying to clear up misconceptions here, because I think a lot of people, you know, there's a lot of speculation as to who, what, why, and associations with religions and stuff. But I'm not saying these people are perfect. Satanism, whatever. I'm just saying that whatever it is, gangstalking does not come from a place of love. It's very evil. It is demonic, right? And that's not good. If you're going to breed contempt and evil, then okay, for example, look at the, in the Catholic Church, there's a movie called Spotlight, right? I think, I don't know, it was with Rachel, was it called Spotlight? Spotlight movie. And the other movie with Meryl Streep is called Proof, I think with Amy Adams. The movie Spotlight is a highly accurate true story. It details the real-life Boston Globe investigative team who won a Pulitzer Prize in 2003 for exposing the systemic child sexual abuse scandal within the Catholic Church and a decades-long institutional cover-up. So what we think is, oh, it's the Satanism. I'm telling you. What was the Warren Jeffs? Isn't that another guy within the Mormon Church? He got arrested for something. Right? Warren Jeffs, a polygamous sect leader and convicted child rapist, is in a coma. Oh, he's in a coma. Oh, God. I didn't know he's still alive. I thought he passed away. He's and it's funny because I actually attended is this Fundamentalist Church of Latter-day. No, that's a Fundamentalist. So Latter-day, I take it back, it's different. Latter-day Saints is not the same as FLDS, I think. But this guy, he's another one. And he was, I think the premise was that he was a direct conduit to God, or so he believed. So he his church, or what they call it, cult or whatever, with the polygamy and all that, they believed that what he said was law and what he said was fact. And it says right here that intensely secretive FLDS finally started coming under scrutiny in the mid-2000s due to widespread allegations of organized welfare and sexual abuse. And then also, I think, child brides or something like that. So he's sentenced to life in prison. And he has 20 years for sexually assaulting 2 girls he claimed were his spiritual wives. He is an American cult leader and convicted child. But I'm sure people would say against that, oh no, he's a good guy. And so I'm telling you, people will create a lot of stuff and say, oh, is this, and this. And you need to look into things first. But I will say, as a targeted person, people do make up lies. And they create scandals and they create problems, especially when they can't find anything about a person. They'll create things like proof or evidence through false witnesses and pay off people. And this is the other movie that's coming to mind right now, Proof movie with Meryl Streep. I think it's about, what's the movie with Meryl Streep and Amy Adams? Isn't there a movie called? No, that's not it, but Proof movie, Amy Adams. Isn't it called Proof? Oh, not Proof. Sorry, Doubt. It wasn't Proof. Maybe someone's doubting. Oh, you know what? I just realized someone's doubting someone's proof. There's proof about something, and someone's doubting it. I just got that because I looked up the movie Proof, but then someone is doubting. There's proof of something. Maybe this is for somebody, but someone's doubting it. They're doubting the proof. It's right in front of their face, but they're doubting it. Or trying to disprove the proof or evidence of something. Take it what you will from that. Again, not an investigator, just saying. What was this one about? Highly crime drama centers on serious moral dilemma and themes of evidence. In Doubt, Amy Adams plays the hopeful, naive sister James, a young teacher who suspects the charismatic father Flynn, Philip Seymour Hoffman, of improper behavior with a student. She reports her suspicions to the strict, uncompromising principal, Sister Aliosis, launching a bitter battle of wills that hinges on whether there is any solid proof of misconduct. Interesting. Those came to mind. I don't know why. But anyways, moving forward, how other ways to cope through gang stalking. Have faith. I'm going to write that next. Is have mercy for on those who do wrong against you or do ill will against you. And then also have faith. Have faith, and if you're not a religious person, put your faith, I don't want to say put your faith in something greater than yourself. Put your faith that and hope that there are better days. Because I'm telling you, I've witnessed that myself. And I guarantee the moment I step out the side of the store, it'll contradict that, my statement. But you speak faith into your future. You create the reality you want. Even if someone else is going to try to conjure up the world around you, reality is in the eye of the perceiver and the receiver. So even if someone tries to manipulate my reality around me, I get to choose what I think about that. Metacognition is the ability to reflect back on one's thoughts. So you get to reflect back and you get to create your reality with your thoughts, actions, words, and behaviors. And what you affix your consciousness to. What are you consuming on a daily basis? Our phones, social media, I recognize because I'm doing, I'm trying to be more prevalent on Instagram and whatnot, but I realize that what we consume with our eyes and with our ears, everything has a direct effect on our psyche and our spiritual well-being. So you have to be very cognizant of what you're consuming on a daily basis. That's the next one I'll say. Be conscientious or be cognizant of what you gravitate towards, what you consume on a daily basis. Now, I'm talking more of like a psychosocial emotional sense, like psychologically, because a lot of this stuff is psychological, right? psychosocial and emotional. A lot of targeted people will talk about the technicalities of it. Oh, buy a dash cam, get a body cam, create and compile evidence, create a log of all the times that this, and this happened. Because I will say it is a crime. Like, I've had urine bottles rolled to the car. Like, I've had rental cars, and there was, I kid you not, a bottle of urine opened up that was rolled to the driver's seat of the side of the car, and I stepped on it. And I was like, ew, it was disgusting. It was like a Zephyr Hills bottle, and it was back in Florida. And I go, oh my god, or no, was it Florida? And that was annoying. And then I've been in places, like I've gotten rental cars where they go, oh, sorry, we don't have any cars available, even though I'm in the reservation 2 weeks before. Or they say, they give me a car and it smells like cigarettes inside, or it has, it's damaged, or it had no gas in it, or there were chemicals inside that were where maybe the AC fluid was tampered with, and they switched it to like refrigerant. You know, that's a crime. Poisoning someone is a crime. Drugging someone is a crime. No questions asked. I don't care if it's for science. And no one, if you go to a judge and you're like, here, judge, I was da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and and then when people go, they'll play devil's advocate and go, yeah, but did you die? Or, yeah, but where's the proof? It would show up in your blood work, right? And then if it doesn't, then you know that there's dishonesty and corruption within the medical healthcare system. That's corruption, because that's medical malpractice. Like, I looked at, what was it, yesterday or this morning, and I go, oh my god, my stomach felt like funny. I go, it looked blue, like my skin was blue here. And I mean, yes, if I have TOS, that could be a big contributing factor. But God forbid, I hope I never have a heart attack, like where it gets so bad that I croak, and you know. But yeah, like, that's bad where people do that, and they'll rig things so that things won't go in your favor, so that, you know, you don't get the medical attention that you need, or you get banned from getting proper health care. So, but number 3, I would say, you know, have faith that there are, you know, better days to come. And when you can't find the sunshine, be the sunshine. When you know, create your, and please don't say I mean this in black magic. When I say create your own magic, I mean create that within you. Even if you feel like your immediate reality is not showing that, you have to, spirituality or positive psychology, not even spirituality, just positive psychology dictates that if what you think about, you magnetize, right? So try to focus on the good. I know that's really hard, especially, and trust me, I am doing this right now. Like, I literally, I feel like sometimes my body is not my own. I feel like people have medical ownership over me, and that I'm like a guinea pig for weird stuff that I have no control over. And I'm scared of that, because there's maybe a group of mad scientists somewhere who are being very, very mean and disrespectful of my well-being and my humanity, and they feel like they're taking it upon themselves to expose me to all these horrible things that could kill me, and are abusing me, and that they don't care. That's frightening. Because I'm not a robot, I'm not a machine, I'm a human being. I don't care if someone implanted like a device that regenerates my health from being a zombie. That still doesn't detract from the horrid nature and the illegal nature, dishonesty that comes with putting someone through certain circumstances like that. I don't care if someone was like, oh, but you can be immortal if we, no, I don't, no. I'm not a deity, I'm not a god. I look like a human, right? I don't have a pacemaker, I don't have a bionic plate in me. God forbid, hopefully not something like a chip or whatever. I mean, I've heard of that where people get chipped. You know, there was one dude who said, and it wasn't FBI who did it, he literally said he was like, it was an organization he worked for, and then they knew some people, and then he ended up waking up and he had like something, like he realized he was chipped or something. And these are microchips, they're like tiny, teeny tiny. They can literally go like a size of a grain of rice, and that can cause a lot of havoc in the body. I don't remember where I read it, but it wasn't then, the FBI people researched and investigated, and they found out that he was right, and they found out it was a former employer that he whistle blew against or whatever. So, you know, be mindful of that. But you know, thoughts, action, behaviors, you know, create your own magic. You know, when you can't find the sunshine, when you can't find the light within the darkness, be the light. You know, because that it really is an exercise in like, are you going to be a bitch? Or are you going to be mean towards the world? Or are you going to choose goodness and kindness and humility when you're met with the opposite? That's a dangerous person, by the way. Not like in terms of like violence, but just character. But be cognizant of what you consume on a daily basis with your, you know, with your eyes and ears, and mouth as well. You know, because that's what shapes your reality and shapes your ideology. And we're bombarded with the media all the time. If you want to know a really good, there's a song that I like in the yoga world. It's called Electronic Sea. It's by Ram Dass, I believe. Yeah, by East Forest and Ram Dass. Exercise also helps. Exercise, moving your body. Now, granted, it's easier said than done, right? Because I forced myself, because if I am really truly being poisoned with the stuff that I think that I'm being poisoned with, which was neurotoxins, bee venom, other types of venom, maybe even like trace amounts of cyanide, mercury, who knows? I don't know. But my lower half, neurologically, I feel like I've had damage done to the muscle fascia or muscle tissue, and then the nerves, because I've had paresthesia, numbness, and tingling, and I've not been diagnosed with diabetes, which causes diabetic neuropathy or peripheral neuropathy, because it's your peripheral, right? Extending out from you, that's your peripheral. You have your CNS, which is your central nervous system, and then within that you have your autonomic nervous system, which is the ANS. And basically, when you're gang stalked and stuff, it's alleged that people can, from a distance, I don't know how, I'm not an engineer, they can tap into that and do electronic weirdness to you. So, you know, moving your body and exercising is very important. I think because when you do that, you're moving the lymph fluid, you're moving also spiritually the chi, the meridians, the energy, you're giving it space to move, and you're releasing it. Also speaking, you're activating and stimulating the throat chakra, so therapy is important. But the only thing is that I was listening to a lady today. In therapy, you have to be mindful, because some therapists get paid. I don't want to be conspiratorial, but like some therapists get in on it, and they will try to gaslight you and steer you in the opposite direction to make you misperceive what your reality is and your experience. So I've been fortunate enough where I have had good therapists who have helped me, and where they've instilled faith and hope and guidance and truth, and they validated my emotions. They were real and they were truthful. So if you're lucky enough to find a therapist who listens to you, I unfortunately, because I moved when I was in Vermont, I had two really good therapists. One was more cerebral and technical, not cerebral and technical. She was more clinical in the sense that she was very well trained. I think she was trained in I don't know if it was sexual assault or domestic violence. She was very good trauma-informed therapist. And the other one I had from BetterHelp, because I literally I needed so much help. Because my mind, I was so sad and disappointed and depressed and just heartbroken, because I felt like the system was broken. So basically everything I knew about like police officers and military men who, you know, when growing up, I had I was the girl that was like, you know, if I saw a guy in uniform, I was like, you know, forget about it. And then this whole situation challenged that. So I try to remind myself that not all military men are bad, not all police officers are bad, but it was heartbreaking to me, because I was seeing the opposite of what I imagined or what I thought reality was with law enforcement and military and whatnot. So, you know, but I felt fortunate that I did have two individuals back in Vermont. One was licensed in North Carolina, the other one was licensed in Florida, and they cared, you know. Some therapists care, some don't. Some of them are really good. Like there was one guy, I'm not gonna say his name, but I think he said it was in South Carolina. I listened to him recently through BetterHelp, and he was excellent, so smart, so well spoken, well read, and I learned a lot. He talked about, you know, relationship dynamics, trying to foster healthy relationships platonically, romantically, in the family, and things like that. And he was really good. I enjoyed his lectures. And some of them, you know, because everyone comes with their different set of experiences, right, and worldviews. So you have to find a therapist that, I will say this, not only like aligns with your worldview, but also challenges it to an extent. Because when you have someone where they validate only what you want to hear, it's not, what's that, not selective mutism, it's selective listening. Like when you try to find people who reaffirm or affirm your ideology or belief system, you don't really grow. It is good to have someone who kind of aligns with that, but you also want someone who challenges you and says, this is the areas you need for improvement, where you need to grow, and then there's other ones where you go, this is better suited for you. So but having someone who listens to you, is non-judgmental, won't gaslight you, just say, oh, but did it happen? I don't think your food is this. I'm like, listen, lady, like I feel horrible all over. My chest is like squeezed. I have my skin tinted blue, you know, sometimes, and yeah. And it's like, but get blood work. What, you know, it costs money. It costs a lot of money. I spent last year, when I did my taxes, I spent almost $4,000 on out-of-pocket testing, because I wasn't getting the answers from the traditional side. It sucks. So, but speaking, sharing, like peer support is really good. Sharing, you know, your experiences with other people is important. Just be mindful though, because there are some people who will say they're targeted, but they're not, because I think they need like moles or people within the group to keep tabs on them. It's stupid, but that's what I think. And then, you know, I will say, you know, our souls, I do believe that our souls have a blueprint, and in terms of like, you know, our timelines and whatnot, if you want to get into the woo-woo stuff, but I do believe that our souls are called to go to specific geographic locations, and they're more settled in specific areas. Because what's good for me, I told this to my family recently, they didn't really get it. I tell them all the time, I go, what's good for me may not be good for you. Some people love city living. They love, and if you knew me, like if I was years ago, I would have been like, oh my God, I love the city. There was a point where I wanted to move to New York like years ago. That was because of the performing arts thing or whatever. And I was like, oh my, because there was such an energy and a vibrancy to New York, where it was like, you know, you had the Columbus Circle, you had, you know, Little Italy, and oh my God, the restaurants there are so good. Oh my God, Little Italy. And then, you know, Beaker Street, Soho, you know, Greenwich Village. It was so like, those are the parts that I think are like the time, because Times Square is really like touristy, you know, that's like a lot of just, and it's like, that's like the Ocean Drive. Like Miami has Ocean Drive and South Beach and just a bunch of random people. But then you have parts of New York that's like Upper West Side, Upper East Side. You have Astoria, Queens, you have Brooklyn. So that's the more like, I guess, artsy, laid back, that's more doable, I think. But even for me, I'm just like, I like, after living in Vermont, I can't afford it. But living there, with that, I find peace when I'm around, you know, nature, when I'm around greenery, because, you know, places like this, if I showed my view right now, it's literally a wall, and then there's windows with bars on them, you know, and I tell myself, like, oh, how did I end up here? You know, how did I end up in this situation? Yeah, I can blame and say corruption, because I keep beating the drum of that. It's an injustice, it's unfair, it's corrupt. And I go, but you know what? Throughout all of this, I've been very, very divinely guided and very blessed and protected, because I haven't died yet. That's a blessing. The shit that I've gone through in the past 6 months, I really do think, I felt like I was gonna be assassinated. I'm gonna be dead ass honest. I know that sounds cuckoo and crazy, but the stuff that I've experienced, where I've touched certain packages, where I've walked into certain rooms and I lost my breath, and I go, and I don't have any neuromuscular, neurodegenerative diseases. I don't have narcolepsy. Like, it was scary. And I can't do anything about that. And I've expressed and relayed my concerns to my parents. And that's the thing, again, plausible deniability. I can't prove that. And if a landlord goes, oh, I checked it out, there's nothing there, they're going to take the landlord's, answer over mine. I'm the tenant. Oh, she's the one. Oh, what does she have? Oh, she has PTSD. She had depression, anxiety. Oh, there's the clinical history. She's anxious. No. I know the difference between an anxiety attack and a panic attack and an actual de-stating and decompensation. I worked in an ICU. I volunteered in different parts of the hospital for like 4 to 5 years. I've been with patients at the bedside. I've seen babies that have had fentanyl given to them. And it's supposed to be like 0.1 microgram, 0.2 micrograms. Because fentanyl can kill you. So no, I'm not a dim-witted idiot that, I'm smart, I'm kind, I'm logical, I'm resourceful. And I definitely don't have the cognition of a teenager. Because the people gangstalking me, the people want to pushing that I'm a teenager, I'm not. I probably have the cognition of what a 25-year-old, 26, 27-year-old. So, whatever this was, because everyone's story is different about how they get into this whole program and whatnot. It's not rooted in love. It's evil. But I hope, I'll repeat it again, have mercy. Number 2, have faith that, better days will come, even if you don't see it. And when you don't see that happening, create your reality with your thoughts, actions, words, and behaviors. Create your own magic. Be the light. Be the sunshine when you don't see it. When someone tries to step on you and push you, and for me, I'm not really big on cigarette smoke. I'll have people standing outside and they're like, and I'm like, I'll just go like, hold my breath. Or if I see a bunch of police officers congregated by somewhere, I don't get scared. I'm like, they're doing their job. If I see a big black SUV, now I restructure, I do cognitive, that's another thing. I do cognitive, I'll do cognitive restructuring, where basically what I'll do is I will, like the big black SUV thing, I used to be so afraid of these trucks. Now I'm like, it's an Uber. I looked inside one, the tinted windows, one guy, there was like little DVD players or whatever on the seats. It was an Uber. Not to say that wasn't what, mine was at 11 p.m. in Coral Gables, like that's unheard of. That's not normal to have a big black thing. And these are the ones that you see in like music videos. It was shiny rims. The grill was immaculate, super tinted windows. And I'm like, something's off. I didn't get government vibes. At first I thought government vibes, I'm like, I don't know. That was a little sketchy. So, but now I'm like, it's an Uber. I'm like, Ashley, it has nothing to do with you. And I don't think the government would sit there and drive around just for me personally. That doesn't happen. I don't think so. Maybe, I don't know, but I don't think so. Cognitive, restructuring. And the beautiful thing about our brains is we have this thing called neuroplasticity, which is basically your neurons. There's synaptic pruning. There's synaptic pruning when the synapses of the neural connections that don't get used, they die off. But there's, we have neuroplasticity, which is the ability for our brains to not grow like in size, but to create new neural connections. Because when you're an infant, when you're a child, right, your brain is like a sponge. So you're soaking in all this sensory information, right, sight, sound, touch, whatever. And babies accumulate, they learn through sensory exploration. They learn by touching this, and that, and the third. So, so it's have hope that, you may think, oh, you're traumatized. But because I did study that in school, I studied psychology in school, I know how to, I need to, and I was a child life specialist, so I'm like, okay, I offered that same wisdom and insight, I imparted that to the patients, I have to apply that same logic to myself. Even when I don't see my immediate reality showing that, I go, I need to do the mental rearrangement, because your mind is everything. What you feed your mind, what you plant the seeds, what you feed it, it grows. It like a garden. So you can plant seeds and grow flowers, or you can plant seeds and grow weeds. It's up to you. And this is coming from someone who I'm being constantly met. Like, I had family yesterday tell me, they literally, what was it? My mom says, everyone in our family thinks you're a good for nothing lowlife. A taker. That's what my mom told me yesterday. So, and I, I'm here in this building because my parents did help pay for, not to get too much into it because that's really personal, but they did help pay for, a few months of it. But it came at a point where I didn't have a choice because of the financial struggle, the hardship that I've experienced because of this whole thing that happened. So I felt obligated to acquiesce. It wasn't like because I said, oh, if you help me, is there any way that I could, if I have a job and I can go to a city that I feel, can it be a smaller building? Because I feel safer in a smaller building where it's less neighbors and there's less opportunities for someone to come into the, because when I was in Vermont, I was in a duplex, so I didn't, and I have the videos of that up on my page and my experience living in St. Albans, but I felt much more reassured because I had a digital Schlage lock on the door, right? And so anyone could see where they're, coming and going. So I felt like self-assured. I was like, I'm okay. If I go for a walk with my dog here, it's different. I keep like my phone open and I'm like, I have my little cameras and I'm like, hopefully, so, but yeah, this is coming from, so I've been met with constant emotional invalidation and scrutiny and just being portrayed as oh, you've changed, you're different. No, I'm the same person. I can't be manipulated as much as I was before. People don't like you when you start setting boundaries. People don't like you when you start getting a little bit more aware and attuned of things and you get defiant. And I get it. I'm here. I have a roof over my head because I have family support in the sense of fiscally, but the emotional kind of wasn't there. And I think they're getting confused. They're getting financial support confused with emotional support. There's a difference. Go look up the Harry Harlow Reese's monkey experiment. The monkey gravitated towards the cloth mother that was nurturing and kind when met with a scary stimulus or a frightening terroristic thing or terror-like thing. And then, the monkey didn't go to the one that was made out of wires and had, the food and the water. The little monkey gravitated towards the one that the wire cloth mother that had cloth wrapped around it that was loving and nurturing. So, but anyways, cognitive restructuring is important. Exercise, moving your body. Also too, if you can afford it, massages are really good. Just be mindful with the lotion that they use or the oil, because if you're really, really heavily targeted like I am, they could lace that with something and that could go through their hands. And I'm not trying to scare people, but that is something that you could do. I did that in Philadelphia and that helped immensely. Sound bath meditations, nature retreats are really good. Like I went to a horse retreat. It was called, oh my God, what was it called? Cynthia's the owner. I did have a really nice time there. If you're ever in Spring Mills, Pennsylvania, I highly encourage you to go to, what was it called? I can't remember. But it was basically a bed and breakfast. She made me breakfast. It was so nice. There was a little fridge in the room. There was the TV. I did keep the windows open because I had the fear of the whole HVAC thing. But she had like the horse ranch with the horse barn, and I got to do like horse work, and it was so cool. But nature retreats are really good if you can afford it. Yoga retreats, and not everywhere is unsafe. I think when you're gang stalking targeted, they want to instill fear in you so that you don't live your life like a normal person. So the key is to kind of do the opposite of that. Me, it's kind of different though. It's been hard. I do feel like there's hits on my life, which is scary to say that word, and I do have trigger words. That I do think people are coached on. Like I don't mind sharing them. I really don't care because they already know about them. If my phone is hacked and stuff, I'm sure it is, they already know. But things like gas station, case study, trap, passing, tips and tricks, tricky, trick or treat, front, execution, poison, assassination, rigged, hits. Those are all kind of words that are aversive to me, or essentially that Passover, like Jewish Passover, crossover. There's a company literally on LinkedIn, there was for a school company, and I was like, this looks like such a fun job. it was like teaching social emotional skills or social emotional coping in kids, and it was called Crossover. That's the AI platform that they use, or the job platform. And I'm like, I don't want to. I don't want to cross over. Respectfully, I don't want to cross over yet. And I don't need some group to expedite my time. The word passing, like when someone's passing, putting on a front door, front yard setup. Poison, like, it's sad. I'm hoping I have people that are fighting for me and, advocating for me that I don't know about, because I would do the same for them. But, yeah, if you can find someone who's trustworthy to help you work through the triggers and the trauma that was imposed upon you, I highly encourage that. But, getting a group of peers that's hard too, because they'll use the peer group to do that to you as well. They'll try to get people within the peer group, your peer support group, to be perps or gang stalkers, so to speak. But like I said, cognitive restructuring, trying to get your mind to shift to the positive. And I don't mean in a delusional, like, toxic positivity, like, oh my god, everything is beautiful and it's all perfect, and there's like there's the troll in the Troll movie, Poppy Troll by Anna Kendrick. Not like that, where like she's very upbeat and happy and she's like, it's hug time, and then they all hug each other. Not like that. I mean, like, try to look for the good. A really good exercise, and this came out of my reading recently, is to do a gratitude journal, and I've been slacking on that. Either you do it in the morning or you do it in the nighttime, but you focus on three things that happened that day that were really good. And that's helped me immensely, because it helped my mind look for the goodness and the positive when I was seeing the negative. Massages, deep tissue massages are good. Also, be mindful, social connections, social support, if you can, even though they may try to rig that too. But just try, try. That's all that matters if you try. Sound bath healing, nature retreats, yoga retreats, hikes. Just if you go alone, be careful with that. I don't live anywhere, I'm not in anywhere like Colorado where you can go hiking. This is the fun. Okay, so I'm gonna get really, and it's funny because I haven't done one of these NSFW, not safe for work videos in a while. This is not that, but before I was doing, because I was curious about intimacy and whatnot, and I was on my, like, like the musical Pippin. If you don't know the musical Pippin, but he kind of goes there's Spring Awakening. They have this coming of age phenomena that happens, and he goes on this journey to, like, just self-exploration, self-discovery. And during that phase, it was the NSFW series on here, and I wanted to talk about things that kind of push the envelope and push the boundary, because I consider myself a good girl, not like a slutty, like, but I take it from a position of inquiry, of general, like, innocent curiosity in terms of, like, sex and intimacy. So I created the NSFW series, and I wanted to talk about things that bared, again, relevance to me, and that were maybe awkward, but, like, would help other girls, like, maybe, or men too, and to not have, like, hang-ups about sex, because I did grow up Catholic, and I felt very shameful that if I enjoyed intimacy, that I was going to go to hell, and that it was a sin. And so I was 32, I was a virgin until 32, I don't mind saying that, it is what it is. I didn't really flirt much, I was very just quiet. So, and I equated flirtatiousness with, like, devilishness. So now that kind of changed, where I realized I had a therapist tell me, she's like, you're not a bad person, you're not sinning, it's natural, it's human development, it's biological. So there's a reason why I preface this. And the last thing I was gonna say is, I don't know if I should say it, I don't know. So, because I'm trying to I'm trying to phrase it in not a perverse way. So intimacy, I don't want to say it because I'm, like, nervous. So I'm going to call it self-pleasure. So we'll just say, because when you're targeted, it could be kind of dangerous to date. I recognize that. So you have to be careful who you talk to and stuff, because some people could have bad intentions for you, and they could be honey traps or honey pots. I just call them jerks. It's the honey sweets, and then they try to, it's stupid, and then you create a trauma bond, and then they try to trick you, and I'm like, I'm too old for that shit. You're just a little petty boy if you're gonna do that. I want a man, a gentleman, not this stupid minutia of, oh, I'm gonna wait to text you, but I don't have time in my day. Bitch, you have your phone on you all day, unless you have a job that's like super demanding. And then if you don't text me, it's probably because you're married or you're cheating and you want to play psychological games with me, and then you're into targeting. I don't need that shit. I'm holding out for the dude that's like, I'm not gonna do, like, you know. This song, what's the song, Holding Out for a Hero? That comes to mind. But what I was gonna say is self-pleasure and intimacy, I think, I wanna say I'm pro-sex or sex positivity, I guess, but like, it's not a sin to, if you do that. And I've struggled with that, because I will say that if masturbation impedes upon, and I know this sounds crazy to say that, I know that, and I promise I'm not perverse, I'm not a sex addict by any means. Again, I want to come from the perspective of, I'm not a therapist, but I do want to maybe specialize in that later on in like marriage and family counseling, because I do think society, we are hypersexual, and there's either you're too hypersexual and it's like OnlyFans route, or it's like you're not expressing your divine kundalini, your womb, what's that chakra, sacral chakra, right, which is correlated to that stuff. So there's a healthy way to go about it, but for me, I have found that like engaging in that, I know that sounds like a little bit TMI, it's too much, but for me, there's nothing wrong with that. And I've experienced such chronic pain before with my body that I needed to get back into my body, if that makes sense. And self-pleasure is a very visceral experience, and I know it's very personal, but women, and I don't mean in a pornographic way, I want to make this very clear, I don't mean it in a satanic way either, where it's like, oh, self-pleasure, hedonism, no, self-indulgence. I mean like the connection in a very tantric way, in a very spiritual way, because we have, as women, it's I don't say miraculous, it's pretty marvelous that we have the ability to create human life right within our womb. And unfortunately, I myself, I think I have issues with my uterus. I think I have PCOS, and I have amenorrhea, which my period has been absent for like, that's another reason why I think I'm being with heavy metals and stuff. It's been absent for like almost 2 months, and no, I'm not pregnant. I know I'm not pregnant. And that's frustrating for me, because and I don't think I'm in perimenopause. I just think I'm in such a state of stress, and I've had a large amount of maybe heavy metals and toxins through my food or my water, that the pituitary gland in my brain that secretes, the hormones, my hormones are all off and out of whack and out of kilter. I mean, my whole routine is out of kilter. Literally, my whole routine is out of kilter. I don't have the sleep-wake cycle is off, just because I've been in such a hypervigilant state and in pain and scared and alone, that I can't live the normal life where I established okay, I'm gonna go to bed at this time. I mean, imagine if your life, if you were eating your food and you felt like everything that you ate was disagreeing with you, or was, your water had stuff that made you feel like you were drinking shards of glass, and you look in the mirror and you look cyanotic and you have blue, that's traumatizing. That is traumatizing. And then I don't want to die of starvation, right? So I've been like, how am I going to go about this? And I go, Ashley, if you have faith in God and you're strong and you're capable, you will get through this. And you are not guilty of anything. There's nothing wrong with you. And people are really mean. They're really evil. But you have to pray for them. There's a song by Kendrick Lamar that says, I pray for those who pray against me, or like, I know that God's got me, or something like that. So whenever I feel like I'm not motivated, I listen to that song and I force myself. There's so many times where I've listened, I go, I need to get up and I need to keep going, because, you could be met with people who are going to destroy you and talk shit about you and start beef with you for nothing, but you have to get up. And there's so many people too that I go, when people, I've had people on my thumbnails, the cyberbullying, where I kid you not, they put stuff about suicide. Like, if you're, like, there's ads specifically for suicide. Oh, you're struggling with suicidal ideation? I'm like, no, bitch. I press the little dots and I go, nope. I press the 3 little dots and I go, nope. Please don't show this again. because I do think there's a hacker that wants to do mind games and stuff. And I go, no, I'm not suicidal. I have no desire, zero desire to take my life. I should be the one that facilitates the crisis hotline to help people not take their life and give them purpose and hope. And I hope my words can help do that for another person if you are considering that. And I have a little prayer box where I wrote down all the names of people who have committed suicide and taken their life. And I go, I need to get up for them, because their souls, they're not here anymore. Anthony Bourdain, Avicii, who's Tim Berg, Kate Spade, Philip Seymour Hoffman. There's a bunch of people, who commit suicide, and I go, I'm not going to do that. Because imagine if everything in your world, from your bath water to your food to your regular drinking water, has poison in it. Imagine that. Think about it. The very thing that you need to give you life and sustenance and nutrition is also the very same stuff that could hurt you. And sure, they could be doing testing to see, how my body tolerates it, but that's a violation of my human rights. I'm not a test subject. I'm not like one, the beagles that there was a lawyer that tried to free the beagles in Wisconsin, in London. If you don't know, the Ridgeland beagles. And I was like, I sometimes feel like that. I'm not kidding. I feel like that sometimes. And I go, that is so inhumane. I told myself if I could try to, my goal is one day, the beagle, the movie Shiloh is really cute with the beagles. And I never kind of paid attention to beagles before. And I go, if I had enough money right now, I would have contacted those people and said, how can I adopt one of those beagles? Because they're just so cute. And Bonnie, I think, would have loved that as a companion. Because I wish she had another, like a boy dog to, hang out with and play with. Just because I think that would have been good for her. Because she stays cooped up in here. And I know I need to walk her more, but I get, nervous about leaving the apartment and having to multitask and watch the security cameras that I have, because people can come to the apartment. And I'm not kidding, I put on clothes, my actual clothes in the closet, and I've almost had a weird reaction to the clothes, like as if someone sprayed them, or maybe it's the laundry detergent. So people go hardcore, but yeah, I'm just gonna reiterate again the last few things. Peer support, good therapist, find a well-vetted, trained, but also compassionate, not so clinical where it's like, you feel like they're a doctor. Cognitive restructuring, trying to look for the good, do a gratitude journal, massages, deep tissue massages if you can afford it, sound bath meditation healing. If you can't do that, they have good things on YouTube. YouTube is great. I can't bash YouTube. They have free dance classes. I was doing a ballroom thing before, with this lady in her little salsa class with these two guys. I was like, I'm gonna do it. I also play music is really important. I love music, so I play music all the time. The moment I hear my my Latin playlist, I'll listen to like Bad Bunny or who else is there on it? I don't have Celia Cruz on there, but she's very popular. The bachata music, Romeo Santos, Prince Royce, Alejandro something. Maluma's on there. Mark Anthony, J-Lo. I don't know. I came from Miami, so like that's what I guess my world. So I guess I'm trying to represent Miami 305 in that respect. And Miami, that's where all this shit started. But I still have a place in my heart, and it's just unfortunate that I had this one incident with this one guy. So anyways, playing music is great. There's the sound bath meditation healing that you can do with the Tibetan singing bowls. I don't know how it works. I just know the vibration and the sound frequency, the sound waves, and it can heal and regenerate your body. There's also the holistic homeopathic things, like, there's the acupuncture. I didn't really care for acupuncture too much when I was in Philly. It didn't really do much for me. The massages were really helpful, but I can't really afford that. I wish there was look to your community for resources, even though I know people say, yeah, but my community's rigged and this and this. Yeah, it could be, but remember, you have to create the light. You have to be the light. Remember, Mahatma Gandhi says, be the change you wish to see in the world. You have to be the light. When you can't find the light and you're shrouded by darkness, you have to be the light. You have to exude radiance. You have to exude positivity. And this is for a man, woman, whatever, whoever you are. Teenager, this, that, be the light. And I'm going to be made fun of for that. I promise you, I will be made fun of for that. But I'd rather be good and kind than mean and vindictive. I'd rather have my soul be purged and cleansed and pure of heart than be this jaded, bitter, resentful person who doesn't believe in love or good. And trust me, like I've had the shittiest, not shittiest, I've had interesting connections come up with, men. They weren't great, but I learned from them, because I always say everyone comes into your life for a reason, a season, a lifetime. They're either a blessing, a lesson, or both. And they could have been perps. But when you meet me, I demand authenticity, bro. Like, you cannot, I don't care if they're like, oh, I'm gonna trick this bitch. You meet me and you have to show up, and I demand authenticity. I'm not gonna do that bullshit. I'm gonna play a game and oh, you're like 11 from Stranger Things. Stupid. Oh, you're like, oh, look at the little alien girl who's like Stitch. No, because that was the thing. They would use the Stitch references, and Wednesday Addams references, Schitt's Creek references, like Alexis, saying that I'm like Alexis because I went from being from like living in upper middle class to now like in poverty. And I go, and she's really funny. The lady, I forgot the actress's name. She's so good, but the character is really funny. Her and David. But I'm nothing like that character. She was a little bit aloof, and I'm not like that. I'm not, fancy things don't really interest me. Like my thing is, if I could one day, if I'm lucky enough to afford to, I don't know how I'm going to, but, build my life back up again. But it would be nice one day to, have, just a simple life and, I don't know, like have, I was at a farm. I'm not a commercial farm, but just, my own space, and it's just simple. I don't need to live on Rodeo Drive. That's not my thing. I don't really care for Cartier, the Moo Moo, the fancy. That's just not my thing. Like I'm still in my outfit from yesterday. Like give me not a pair of boots, but just. And also I do like the sun. I do like island. I would say Bahamas. Island life or whatnot, but maybe one day, maybe in 10-15 years, if hopefully I live through all this mess. I pray to God. I don't know, but if you feel like your community's rigged and you feel like, oh, I don't fit in, then I will say, yeah, then move. If you feel like you don't fit into your community and you feel like they're being false with you or this and that, then you move if you have the funds to do so. Because some people's souls are not meant to reside in certain places and spaces, especially if you outgrow them. If you feel like you're bigger than that, like it's then you leave it and you move to a location where you will feel that. And it may not be perfect, but you can try. Another thing is, I've heard Habitat for Humanity, they have something called sweat equity, where basically you can create your own home, but you have to, I think, have income, you have to have a job, but you put in the sweat equity to actually create and construct your own home as a volunteer with other volunteers. And then they help, like, I don't know if they pay for your bills and stuff, but you can look into that. It's called sweat equity. I saw that when I was in Vermont, but I didn't follow through with it. I think you do need to be working and employed. There's also Cool Works. Cool Works is another website where, like, if you're experiencing housing instability, stuff like that. But those are also possibilities as well. So I don't know where I'm gonna end up. I don't know, because I really, like, I'm trying to go, how did I end up in this mess? I go, but you know what? I let my gut guide me. I let God guide me, and I go, there are good people out there, and there are people who would never harm another individual. I would never do that. So I go, I know that there are other people that would never do that. I remember there was one friend I mentioned this yesterday in Philadelphia, her mom opened up her home to me, and they barely knew me, and we met at a show, and it was Into the Woods was the show, and we just got to talking, and I felt like a certain kinship with her, almost like as if she was my soul sister. And we were different in some ways, but you know, she I think she's happy and she's living her life. But my point is that her mom opened her doors to me, having not known me, and I stayed in her basement, you know, for a bit. And the second week, I think I sensed, for me, I thought I sensed a weird chemical smell, so that was a little scary. So I dodged out of there, you know. And then that's, I think, when I moved to Virginia, and Virginia was not a great experience. So, but I will figure it out, and I will find my way. And I want to do it legally and lawfully. I don't really want to. I already have too much on my credit cards, because I put all my rent and stuff on the credit cards and groceries. But you know, and I know if you say, oh, a lawyer and all that, why don't you get a lawyer? You know, why don't you hire like a debt defense attorney? First of all, you need a retainer fee. I thought about bankruptcy, and I was like, but then you can't apply for an apartment, you can't get a car, and that's record, you know, on record. And I've learned about chapter 7, right, and chapter 13 and all that. But you can't use a credit card to pay for the lawyer. And I spoke with a lawyer before in Indiana, and he was just mean. He was not nice at all. He was mean. Not mean, just, he wasn't mean, he was like indifferent and just cold and like not nice. I was like, I wouldn't want to work with you as a lawyer, you know. So, but I go, there are good people out there, and you have to radiate that energy outward. And I know that if I'm brave and I'm courageous and I'm kind, there's other people that are brave, courageous, and kind as well. So I'll probably type these little things out in the bottom of the description. You know, because that's what's helped me. And never give up, you know. Never give up. Because I'm not kidding when I said I was afraid, like, of being assassinated. I go, why would anyone want to do that to me, to assassinate me? But you know what? When you carry the light of God, or a mission on your heart, you know, and I'm not saying it's government, because remember I said before there was a guy who was a remote viewer for the CIA. I don't know why he even, I guess he was out of it. I guess he was retired from it, because I'm like, if you're in the CIA, there's a certain level of just, discretion. I don't think you could be like, hey, I'm, you know, I don't think that's kind of like, that's counterintuitive to be like, hey, I'm no. So I'm assuming he was retired, but he had hits on his life because he has a gift. And that gift, imagine if you could predict like terrorist attacks before they happen. Imagine if you can predict worldwide like famine or an epidemic or pandemic and whatnot before it happens, and you could save a lot of lives. That's not saying it could do, but that's usually what healers, intuitives, psychic mediums that they can do. So do what you will with that. And there are forces that exist in the world that don't want to see that people like that amount to their success or their destiny, however you define success. So yeah. And yeah, so I hope that helps somebody. And I am trying my best, because that's initially why I created the whole YouTube channel thing, because I never thought I'd be putting myself out on a public platform ever in my life, ever. So I do hope that helps somebody. And yeah, I'll type this out. These are all things, coping strategies. I'm like doing child life therapy, but for adults, which I guess is called therapy. But you know, I think adults need child life therapy too, when you think about it. But they primarily work in hospitals and healthcare, and they help prepare children for procedures and scary things. And I'm really grateful that I did that job, and I learned a lot from it. But I think adults need that same care, compassion, and nurturing too, especially through traumatic, like these are unprecedented times right now that we're in, you know. So yeah, but these are ways to cope with evil. And there's things that are not within our control. And I'm hoping and praying that I don't, that's the one thing I woke up this morning and go, Ashley, if they really wanted to kill you, like right now, like I'm sitting here talking, they could spray a thing like, Hitler tried to, well, not try, he murdered, mass genocide a bunch of Jewish men and women. If they wanted to, they could, right now in this moment, do a thingy with whatever, and they're not. So, that's why I said I think there's an element of cat and mouse, or mouse chasing, to see what someone's made out of. And is it egregious to expose someone to toxic gases and fumes and substances? Yeah. Poison? Yeah. I want to eat normal food. I don't want to go camping. I don't want to live in a tent, respectfully. I want to be here. I want to work. I want to contribute positively to an organization that'll value me and respect me as an individual. I want to be a smaller part of a larger whole. And that sounds bad. that take it back. It sounds derogatory, but you know what I mean. So I've been diligently trying, and also just when you're targeted, they say they zap you of your energy, but they use electronic weapons or stuff to kind of keep you from, being motivated and healthy. And they want you either, the lady today I listened to, they want you either sick or like incarcerated, dead, homeless, or in a mental institution. And I feel fortunate. I told myself I am not going to any mental institution. I'm sorry. I will never, ever, ever, ever admit myself inpatient or outpatient to it. Like, I will do therapy. And I will, but once you're on medication and stuff, natural medication, because when you think about it, SSRIs are selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. So they help keep within the synaptic cleft of your brain, they help keep the serotonin there. So it's not necessarily a happy pill. It's just, it helps reuptake the serotonin. What you do is to create happy hormones. Sunlight is really good because sunlight has vitamin D. Playing music it's dopamine, right? Creating a space around you that feels safe. Using like color theory, when you use certain colors that are vibrant. When you use earth tone colors, that's good for grounding. If you use more vibrant colors like yellow, or even pink is a very soft, demure color, which is my favorite color, that evokes a sense of like romanticism and soft girl, femininity and whatnot. So color, I should write that color theory. I didn't write that down. Color theory is very important. That's number 13. I'm gonna put that note here. A color theory. So, and these are not pseudoscience things. These are coping strategies to help you literally, like, I'm not a therapist, but these are things that have helped me. So maybe I'm going to impart that same wisdom to you and to help you if you are someone who's targeted. But I can't stop the egregiousness and illegal nature of what people like drugging, poisoning. I can't do that. Like, I'm not I was just going to say hostage negotiator, so I hope someone, I don't know, I don't consider myself a hostage, but, if you are religious, go finding a good church. Church is good, but just be mindful because traffickers are everywhere and they will use women, children to lure someone, so just be careful of that. But find community in that, and I think that's it. The other stuff, like I said, my bath water, my shower, I don't really, those are technical things that for me, I limit the amount of showers. I also limit the amount of time I'm in the shower. I have gotten scared, I'll be honest, that I have gotten scared about getting sick or dying from, whatever. So good, but some substances they're non-porous, the skin doesn't absorb certain chemicals and stuff. So I'm like, pray to God, whatever it is in there, I think my body does absorb it because our skin does have pores. But like lead apparently doesn't absorb as much. Mercury, whatever. But what else? The food thing, I don't know. I don't know how to go about that. It's very hard, I will be honest. That has been one of the most scariest things. And I put on my thing, face your fears, feel the pain, you can do this. I should put si se puede, you know, but it's mean. Someone to do that to me is really mean, you know, because that's my food and I would never do that to someone else. And I don't look at this as like a competition, you know, the survival of the fittest, who can last, who can do the whole, like, no, yeah. So I hope one day that things can be, and the thing is too, I don't know what's going on the inside of things. I don't know what I started, if it was a domino effect or if it's snowballed into something bigger, and, you know, I don't know. I don't know what animal or beast I'm dealing with in that respect. All I know is that, you know, if they wanted to, if they wanted to knock me out and kill me, they, you know, they could. But I will say this, I do think that the fact that whoever they are, I think they've used allergens, like different things I'm allergic to, so my heart rate will elevate and increase randomly out of nowhere after eating something. And then, or maybe they put epinephrine in my food, or something I'm allergic to, and then that will, I've almost felt like I've faded before, like I ate something and then my hands will go weak, my muscles go weak, and then I almost feel like I'm gonna fade away and lose consciousness. So that's been scary. So and I shouldn't have to go through that. Like if I eat a cupcake, I shouldn't have to be scared to eat a cupcake, you know, because cyanide is like that kills people. Mercury, aluminum, thallium. So prayers are appreciated. Prayer. Oh my God, prayer box. Oh my God, how did I not? The prayer box. I forgot to mention the prayer box. How did I mention it? One of the main things I do is my prayer box. Is when things are not within my control or out of my control that I feel are insurmountable, or I just want to offer good blessings and good intentions towards people, I will put them in my prayer box. I have a bunch of people. Like I have people that were like guys on dating apps. Like there's this one dude, I'll never forget, he told me he was in like a motorcycle accident or something, and that he like hit a deer, and I was like, I put him in my prayer box. There was another guy who said he had herpes, put him in my prayer box. Another guy who said he was divorced, he was a single dad, and he was in Vermont at the time, and he was like training for Ironman, and he lived in Minnesota, put him in my prayer box. Another guy who lived in Boston and Massachusetts, I said, I'm not the right girl for you, but I put you in my prayer box. So that you'd meet a nice lady, you know, I call it lady friends. So you meet a nice lady friend, because I want people to be happy. I want everyone to find their companion to go in life with, right? No one wants to walk this earth alone. So I'm not going to hold contempt and be like, oh, and you're not right for me, so I'm going to be a bitch. No, I want what's best for you, because happy people equals happy planet. Happy people equals a happy planet. So, and the happier people are, the less wars we have, and the more agreeable people are, and the more that they can have a unanimous, you know, decision when it comes to making key decisions, you know, in life. So yeah, happy people, happy planet, happy days. So, but I also did pray for, like, there's people who are sick too. Like I prayed for people who are sick, and like there was this one girl, I think she lived in Sweden. Her name was Malin, and she has Cruzan syndrome. I haven't looked her up, but I did follow her journey, and I reached out like in a comment. I said, oh, I'm a child life specialist, I work whatever, and she had to be in halo traction, which is basically she had this halo around her that was not like an actual halo, like an angelic halo, but like it's a metal apparatus that you have to, unfortunately, it's for craniofacial deformities. So when there's malformation in the jaw, the face, because usually with Cruzan syndrome, it's a genetic mutation, and so to put the bones in the proper structure, they put a child using halo traction. So it's so painful, and they like twist the screws, and it's horrible. But she had a tracheostomy to help her breathe, because it's global developmental delays, right, with the body, and cognitive deficits, physical deformities, malformations, lower upper and lower extremity deficits, what have you. So PT is like physical therapy is necessary, speech, all that stuff. But the mom was so, oh my God, her mom was like a fighter, and she she created the Instagram account to kind of document and chronicle her daughter's journey. And I forgot how I came across it, but she was just so cute. And I remember seeing videos of them in Sweden, and she was like jumping up and down on the trampoline. And I told God, I was like, please God, help. And she needed multiple surgeries as well. That's why I get really angry with Gangstalking, because I'm like, it's so petty and so stupid, because you have like kids who are fighting for their life, and these people have no fucking perspective, and they sit there and then they get paid to stalk you because they want to like throw you off your God-given path. And I'm like, bitch, go plant a fucking tree. Like, go to a church and pray for somebody. Don't sit there and you're gonna get paid because what you think you're gonna provoke me, bro. I will show up and I will continue to push forward. I don't quit. And that's the problem, because I'm not going to take myself out. So, But I put people in my prayer box, and I imagine like them being healed with like light and love, like like a white light. And yeah. And that feels good to me. That's enough for me. I say if I die tomorrow, which I don't want to, I don't want to, and I have a pizza over there, I'm like, I don't know what's in the pizza, and I'm scared to eat it, like as always. But and I bounce back from adversity, but I just, prayer is powerful. The truth is powerful. And that was Sojourner Truth said, the truth is powerful and it will prevail. And yeah, when you think of others, that's what empathy is. When you put yourself in someone else's shoes, you open up the opportunity for your mind to expand, your consciousness. And it's not just about you anymore, it's about someone else. And people that are in relationships know that. If you're married, and you're in a relationship with someone, you understand what I mean. I mean, I hope so. I hope you do, because if you're in a team, when you're married, you're a team, right? And so I hope you do that. You have to not think of yourself anymore, think of another, and that goes for parents that have children too, So, yeah, I'll write all of these down in the description. That's what's helped me cope. It's not perfect, like a handbook to success of how to overcome and master Gangstalking, but you have to remember that these people, their brains function differently. Also too, on a biological level, sociopaths, narcissists, their brains don't, when they've done MRI scans or fMRI scans, functional MRI, like they'll see the different centers in the brain that light up, and they actually have small, like their brains are smaller. They have apathy, not empathy. So it doesn't matter what you say and what you do, you will always be the enemy to these people. You will always be wrong. They'll be like, oh, she's fake. That's fake kindness. She's, they'll say whatever or make up lies just to fit their schema and their narrative. So don't try to change people. I'm going to say that, don't try to change people. Change yourself. And if you're being met constantly with conflict or contrast, then you have to reevaluate your position with those people. And that could go for a community, a neighborhood, leadership, family, a relationship, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whatever, given your situation. Because if they're constantly, Maya Angelou, Brené Brown said this yesterday. I listened to a thing of hers, and she said, when people show you who they are, believe them. My problem is I let them do it 1, 2, 3, 4 times. I give them chances. I'm like, no, but I see the good. I see the potential. It's there. I see the hidden potential, and I see their I see it, but I can bring it out of them. No, that's not your job. God placed you, or God placed me, maybe to watch me in this video. The universe places us on people's paths all the time. It's not up to us to determine, okay, if that person's presence is meant to be in that for a reason, it's up to me whether I'm going to take that and heed that, or I'm going to let that go. Like I said, people come into people's lives for a reason, a season, a lifetime. They're either lessons or blessings. So if someone comes across your path and you came into their life to be a source of respite and help for them, and you you know, they fumbled that, that's not your job to bring them to you to say, hey, come be with me. I'm the right person for you, or I'm the right friend for you, or I'm the perfect person for the job. If that job rejects you, if that, I don't want to say husband, if that person rejects you, if that community rejects you, then yeah, they say bloom where you're planted, whatever. But if constantly people are showing you who they are, and you don't believe them the first time, then my dear, or whoever you are, man, woman, then guess what? Then that's your sign that you need to move or you need to go. For me, it's a little bit different. Sometimes maybe communities shift and evolve and change. For me, it's a little bit trickier and different because I don't have the funds to. If I literally, I don't know if federally speaking I can get in trouble. I don't know, because I have no money in my bank account and going. I mean, this could be considered an emergency to use my credit line, but I really don't want to. Just because I believe in honesty and integrity, and I don't need to get in trouble with the law, you know, because that would be stealing. So I kind of have to kind of figure out this situation and ask God. I had told God, I was like, can I have a fairy godmother? Is there a fairy godmother around? Is that possible? I don't know. It would be nice to believe that, you know, because when the fairy godmother with Cinderella, she you know, she appeared to her as this haggardly old woman asking for a bowl of milk, and then Cinderella's crying, and she's like, you know, because the stepmother was like, no, you can't go to the ball, and the prince and whatever, and we're gonna go, and your dress is so raggedy and ugly. And then she like rips the dress off of her, and then she goes and she gives milk, and she's like, yes, I'll still, you know. And then the Helena Bonham Carter's character was like, but kindness is everything. And she's like, it's just a bowl of milk, but what makes it special is the kindness behind it. So, you know, and then she found out after, you know, she took her cloak off and she was, you know, a fairy god. Like, she literally was like a beautiful, ethereal, and, you know, with this beautiful dress, and, you know, and she helped her go to like the ball or whatever. And, you know, it's a cute story, but it's that kindness that needs to be extended to people. So, yeah, I hope that helps somebody. So, but yeah, don't try to change people, just change yourself. And when people show you who they are the first time, you believe them. And here's another thing, it could all be a big, just social experiment thing and behavioral thing, sure. But at the same time, my life has been put in harm's way on numerous occasions, and I have done my best to try to overcome that. And it's a violation of my human rights, and I don't know if one day things will change. That starts at the top, though. That starts at the, you know, like you think United Nations. I don't know if the United Nations were the ones that created the Nuremberg Code, but I learned about that after, when I found out about when, like, the Beagles with illegal, I don't know, it was animal cruelty or medical experimentation, but, or medical assault or whatever, but you don't do that to someone. I mean, literally in the hospital, patient rights dictate you have to, when you do informed consent, you have to say, this is what you're going to have done, and this is what is you're going to experience, and these are the possible consequences of it. Like when you go into surgery, and the fact, let me make this brighter, and the fact that whoever's doing it thinks that they could take it upon themselves to do that to me, that's not fair and that's not right. I don't know if that's what it is. There's speculation in the targeting community that's a possibility, that you get used as like a guinea pig for stupid shit. So anyways, I'm gonna leave it at that. This is 3.5 hours long. So, but I guess it was a message that needed to be put out there. I don't know how it's good. I'm gonna load this on here, but and I needed to upload my Spiritual Sundays readings. It's interesting how everything's kind of coinciding together with everything.